Yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. What's up, everybody? Hello. What's up, Chris? Oh, wow. There's no sound at all, eh? Forgot to put the music on. Alrighty. Oh, no worries, Chris. No problemo. Enjoy your dinner. Enjoy your dinner. Well, we're going to watch this 40 minutes. It's only 40 minutes. The actual content is 40 minutes. The Q&A was, I don't know, another hour and a half. So we're going to watch this. It's probably the quickest reveal I've seen in a long time. Gotta say. Just to set the mood here. Just to set the mood. All right, let's see if we got the volume okay here.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2, and welcome to GGG Live. Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal for what's coming next for Path of Exile 2. Twitch drops are enabled on today's livestream, so you'll be able to claim your Verdant Wilds dodge roll effect by following the instructions below. Now today, it's finally time to show off a new class that we know everyone in the community's been waiting for. So let's roll the trailer for Path of Exile 2, The Last of the Druids.
Well, well. What have we got here then?
You lost, fella?
Hey, we're talking to you.
I asked you a question.
What's wrong with him?
He's lost his bloody mind.
Yeah, the dragon, that animation looks... Woo.
I will find you, Eve.
The Wyvern.
Now, as you can see, the Druid is a shape-shifting elemental spellcaster. After his fellow Druids were destroyed by the King in the Mists, the Druid lost his humanity in the forests of Ogham, where he wandered for years as a beast. Now, finally reawakened, he's determined to find his lost wife and regain his humanity. The Druid has been one of the hardest classes for us to design. As well as having human spells, he has 3 animal forms, and we wanted to make sure that there were interesting combos between all of them. The Druid is our first hybrid strength and intelligence class. That means he needs to have the ability to use spells and attacks. As a human, the Druid typically uses magical staves to harness the powers of the earth and the natural world.
Astenia.
One of the first skills you will learn is the ability to create small volcanoes from the earth. This skill spits out balls of magma at your enemies, and will continue to do so for some time. While the volcano is active, turn into an animal and wade into melee range. Many of the skills you use as a human last for a significant period of time, giving you a good chance to turn into an animal and rage out. But how do you turn into an animal, you may ask? Well, the answer is a new weapon type that druids use, animal talismans. When you equip an animal talisman, you can choose which animal form you would like the talisman to represent. Depending on what you choose, you'll be given that animal's basic attack as a new skill to equip. For a bear, that's Maul. To turn into a bear, simply use the skill. Your character will instantly transform into a bear and attack. If you want to change back to a human, just cast a spell. You will instantly swap back and cast it. We wanted to make sure that swapping between forms was seamless and immediate. Changing forms should be something that you do without even thinking about it all the time in battle. In order to allow for hybrid melee and caster gameplay, most of the skills you use in your human form last for some time and aid your animal skills in some way. The volcano we used earlier will emit more molten balls whenever you hit it with a slam, making it perfect for use with your bear form's furious slam. While in bear form, many of your abilities use rage. There are a lot of ways to generate rage, but the easiest one is simply smash your enemies with Maul. Once you see the runes on your back glowing, it means you have enough rage to do a much more devastating version of your furious slam. Your bear form can also go on a rampage, stomping the ground as you demolish your foes. The more rage you have, the longer the rampage lasts, and doing it over a volcano makes it even better. As you consume rage, your bear form will generate endurance charges, and these can be used with skills like Ferocious Roar. Ferocious Roar is a war cry that empowers your subsequent attacks to break your opponent's armor. The more endurance charges you have when you use it, the more empowered attacks you will gain. But Ferocious Roar has another special feature too. It's a meta gem that allows you to socket any Warcry gem from another class into it, giving you the ability to use these skills as a bear. Use the Warrior's Infernal Cry skill to make your enemies explode.
Are you the only one not excited about the Druid? Dragon looks cool, but not for me.
Or use Seismic Cry to stun your enemies and double up the number of slams you do. You can even use it with Ancestral Call.
I think what it is, you know, we're not seeing the full breadth of it. You know, just like the game itself. You know, when you're going through the campaign, you're still building up your character, and you know, you're not that zoomy yet. So it's going to be interesting to see with the Druid, kind of like the combos and what you can put together and make it a little bit more quicker as far as damage. Because right now what we're seeing, like some of the, obviously there's a lot of new stuff here, but I don't know if you guys remember when we originally saw the first look at the Druid in POE 2. That was years ago. Actually, in the video, there's still 5 flasks, so that just shows you how old that was. But some of the stuff in here is very similar to what was back then, like the volcano and stomping on it. So I'm kind of reserving my judgment. Definitely the bear form looks the slowest, and they talk about that a little bit. So we'll see. The bear, I think, is going to be the slowest. The wolf, from what they said here, is a little bit quicker and nimble, and the wyvern, that animation of just the, you know, it up and just blowing, that looks really good. So we'll see. I'm kind of reserving judgment on that. Mage and Goma gonna have to learn alternative weapon sets. Apparently Druid makes bigger use of it other than before. Well, that's because you're gonna be, in order, if you want to swap between the talisman, so between animal form and human form, you're gonna have to assign the weapon swap situation on the skill tree. So I know there's probably some players that haven't had that experience. So it's not that difficult, to be honest with you. So I don't think it's going to be a big thing, to be honest with you. Once you have it done on your tree, it's seamless, like he just said. It's quick and seamless. And I played my mercenary with a weapon swap, and you don't even feel it. You're just pushing the buttons, whatever skill you want to do. And in the background, the game is handling it for you. You don't have to think about it. You're just thinking about what skills you want to do. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, for some people, it's going to be a learning curve if they haven't done it yet. At least the Twite fans will be happy. Twilight? Oh, Twilight. Yeah. I just sat down to watch the stream. I skipped most of the druid stuff. We just started the video, Res, so good timing.
A skill that turns you into the fire god Cow. Ever wondered what the Karui god of war would look like if he was a bear? Well, wait no longer. Finally, build up enough rage and you can use one of the bear's ultimate abilities, Walking Calamity. This skill summons a storm of fire around you for some time, while generating even more rage to power your other abilities. A true bear-pocalypse. Now, the bear is known for being a slower and more lumbering animal, with slower attacks and heavy slams. But what if you want to turn into something a little more nimble? Well, let's check out the second animal form for the druid, wolf form. For the wolf form, we want it to go fast and furious. Even just the wolf's basic attack will leap forward and rake his foes. After attacking, the wolf stands up on 2 legs, but after running for a short time, he goes back on all 4s, allowing to move more quickly between packs of enemies. The wolf has a lot of cold attacks based on his association with the moon, and the first of these is Lunar Assault. It's great for freezing your enemies in place. After they're frozen, use your basic rake attack to knock shards of ice off your enemies, which land on the ground nearby and explode. If you want to get into battle quickly, you can use your pounce attack. This skill leaps at a target and applies a mark to them. Killing the marked enemy will summon a wolf minion to your side, allowing them to fight with you. Mark and kill as many enemies as you can to build up a sizable pack. While an enemy is marked, your wolves will prioritize that target.
Have I seen
and do
the
more
late
damage
content?
the more
Yeah, I've
wolves you
seen
have.
this whole video.
So make sure you
I
keep your
couldn't wait.
pack strong.
I couldn't
Now,
wait,
one problem
Rez.
you might run into is your wolf pack dying in boss fights.
So yeah,
you often
I've
don't have
seen
any
this.
enemies that you can mark and kill in order to regenerate your pack. To deal with this problem, you can use Cross Slash. Cross Slash jumps backwards and does a vicious double slash. Any marks on your target explode and triggers their abilities. This allows you to pounce to mark an enemy and then summon a wolf even without killing it. Cross Slash also has another feature though. Remember those ice fragments from before? Well, Cross Slash will propel any ice shards on the ground towards its central target. First, freeze your enemies with Lunar Assault. Then rake them to create as many ice fragments as you can.
But I can
Then follow
definitely
up with
see the
Cross Slash to
incursion
generate a
aspect
field
of
of
it.
icy explosions to obliterate your enemies. If they're still alive after that, your pack of wolves can finish them off. Just like with the bear's raw skill earlier that allows you to use skills from other classes, Pounce is also a meta gem that you can socket mark.
So you guys see, right? When you put the talisman in, you get the you have to click on which animal form you want to go into. Interesting. The puzzle piece part is like the synth league. Ah, really? Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. That like when Mark was going over, you know, if you want to do this, tie it to this. It's gonna be interesting to see how people are gonna learn that. You know, but we'll talk about more when we get there. Now, this is like I said, I don't know. You guys correct me, but I don't think I've ever seen a POE 2 live reveal that has been less than an hour. They're usually an hour or more. This one was 40 minutes, which was like real quick for their standards, but we'll talk about that.
Mark skills from other classes into. So for example, you might want to try adding freezing marks
Sounds
in the
like
monk
you're playing
to pounce.
Lightning Arrow again.
After pouncing at an enemy, cross slash to explode the mark and gain extra cold damage for a time. The wolf has many other ways to go all in on cold though. Using the Arctic Howl Warcry will allow you to add cold damage and chilled ground to any slam, while buffing your pack of wolves as well. You can also use it to freeze enemies that are close to being frozen, making it much faster to use your other combos. Finally, the wolf also has the ability to cool down the power of the moon to transform into an Arctic werewolf with lunar blessing.
All right.
In this form, you move and attack more quickly
Have a good
and
one,
deal
Rez.
extra cold damage. Consuming Rage will extend the duration of your Arctic wolf form.
I hate this.
So you could try a
This
hybrid
fight
bear and
is
wolf build
so
if you want to
annoying.
utilize the skill to its full effect.
So annoying.
Alright, let's talk about the third form available to the druid, and I think it's a cool one. The Wyvern. The Wyvern has a
Wyvern.
number of long-range breath abilities.
I'm leaning
but
towards
that doesn't mean you
this.
can't get into melee range when you want to.
That's
The
kind of where
basic
my
attack
head's
of the
at right
Wyvern
now.
is Rend. Jump forward into combat and slash your enemies with your lethal talons. If they're close to being stunned, you can blow them off balance with a
Kinda
blast
like
from
how
your
I
wings,
walk.
causing an explosion of damage. After the battle, though, it's time to
What-
feed.
What's
Devour
that
the corpses
YouTube
of
guy,
monsters to
the
create
the
power
young
charges.
kid that was
And this is
purposely
when the
bumping
Wyvern's
into
abilities
people?
really come online. When using Rend, you can consume a power charge
Was
to
the first
charge up your
form
wings
a
with
bear?
lightning.
Yes, we can.
Not only does this do a
Yeah.
bunch of damage, but it allows you
Bear,
to turn this melee
wolf,
skill into a
and now
much
this is
larger
the
AoE
Wyvern.
attack. Once your wings are charged, your wing blast will also do lightning explosions for even more damage. If your enemies are close to death, no need to wait for them to actually die.
got- like, the
when you see this blue
animations are so
marker, just
friggin'
devour them
cool.
alive. Fresh meat is much tastier after all. Alright, so those are some melee options. But how
Can you
about
imagine
range?
the cosmetics you can
Well,
do
you
with
wouldn't
the
be much of a
wyvern?
dragon if you
Oh my
couldn't breathe
god!
fire after all.
Look how
Rolling
nasty
magma is
that
the
looks.
first of the wyvern's breath attacks. Spit balls of fire that bounce along the ground. These balls will trigger volcanoes as well, so it's a good idea to cast one as a human right before you start
That
spitting.
looks so good.
But that's not all you can spit. You have something a little nastier in that gullet of yours.
Hey, Champion Chris.
Spitting a barrage of oil
You're
and your
sad
enemies
about
will
the
cover
end
them in a
game?
viscous
Yeah, we're
sludge
gonna
that
talk
makes them
about
easier
that.
to ignite. If you have power
Did we-
charges, though,
Hey, Rick,
plant
did
your
we
wings
get
on the
another
ground
class?
and vomit
No,
a barrage
no,
of
just
lightning
the
and fused
druid.
projectiles. The more
Just the druid. And to be fair to grinding gear games, Chris, I totally get what you're saying, bro. I'm with you. But you'll hear it later on. I don't know how much of the Q&A we're going to watch. This is only 40 minutes. The Q&A with Ziggy D was like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. But they really did kind of talk about how the druid class was really like 4 classes in one. When you're thinking about it, right? You have human form, which is an elemental caster, and then you have the 3 animal forms, right? Bear, wolf, and wyvern. And they intertwine, and then you got to remember also other classes can equip the talisman and become a bear, can become a wolf, a wyvern, right? So they said it was like building 4 classes. So to me, that was like, okay, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, that's why they didn't bring in another class. And to be honest with you, that's probably what, well, they had other things to say about what Chris brought up about, you know, being disappointed that there was no end game fixes. Well, little sprinkle of fixes, but anyway, we're going to talk about that. I think Druid was a huge time sink for them. Now that it's done, I think we should see a speed up of sorts. Bingo, Koba. Bingo. I think 04 is a tale of many things. I think this decision, I agree with their decision. I don't want rushed content. I want them to do it properly. And to Chris's point, I'm with him. I was too disappointed. I was like sad after this reveal. Now, that does not change my opinion. This game is going to be the best ARPG. This game is going to knock everyone's socks off. But man, please don't tell us, like, for the future, don't promote something and then it's not going to happen, because that just, there was a ton of hate right after the reveal, a ton of it, and it's all because this leading up to 0.4, everyone talked about two guarantees. We're getting the Druid, and it's the end game patch. And to not get the end game patch, what do you think people are going to react? But again, they are going to knock it out of the park. I'm just disappointed we have to wait this long. But they've done a lot of things, and this also shows they're behind. Producing 2 games 2 months apart. There's so many things that they need to, adjust. And they talked about some of these things in the Q&A. But yeah, they're just, I think they're finally catching up. And you guys are right. The Druid was a major drain, and they had to pull the plug on doing the end game stuff. We're going to talk more about the end game when Mark gets into it in here. They should have held expectation. Yeah. You can't promote a patch as the end game patch and not say anything. Like, they didn't just figure out, like last week, they didn't figure out, oh, we're not going to get the end game in 0.4. They would have known a month ago. They would have known 6 weeks ago, and that to not say anything, like, I don't know, hindsight is 2020, and we can armchair quarterback all we want. I'm still confident in them. They're amazing developers. It's just a little disappointing, that's all. And I know there's some people out there that feel the same way, and they have the right to feel that, but it doesn't change my view of the game and the developers. It's just, it is what it is. I knew they were behind. I didn't realize clearly that, like, bottom line, the Druid just took a lot out of them. It looks like they said it was 4 classes in 1. But anyway, we'll dive more into it.
The more power charges you have, the longer you can do this for. But make sure you keep your foes at range. You're vulnerable to melee attacks while channeling this skill.
Might be a 0.2 again.
In order to
for
help
me.
with that, let's take a quick diversion back to some of your human abilities.
Okay, guys.
As a
Don't
druid
get
of
me
scope,
talking,
you have
I
the
won't
ability
shut
to
up.
harness the power of nature to create entangling vines to slow down your enemies. Another of nature's punishments is the thunderstorm. Creating one of these will create periodic strikes of lightning from the sky.
Man, the
and will also
Wyvern
make your
looks so
enemies
fucking
wet.
badass.
Why is that useful? Well, of course, things that are
I
wet are
hope
easier to
it's
shock.
good.
Use it with lightning damage from your Wyvern form to enhance your damage. Making things wet also makes them easier to freeze, so it works nicely with your wolf form as well. And
Look
you
at
know what
that
else likes
block.
water? Plants. Water your plants to give them various extra abilities. Use Lightning Storm with Entangle to make them last longer, and attach more vines to each enemy, slowing them further. Summon Thrashing Vines to slam at your enemies for a time. Any that are created in water will be larger and deal more damage. Now then, with our enemies sufficiently subdued with our plants, time to really lay into
You're
them
gonna
with our
enjoy the
lightning
trade
infused barrage.
upgrades. Yeah, they didn't get into any quality.
Now,
like,
this last Wyvern ability is just ridiculous, but we felt like we had to do it. Use Flame Breath to take to the skies and rain down a
oh, look at
stream of
this,
fire
guys.
on
Look
your
at
enemies.
this.
You have wings, so you have to take full advantage of them after all. So fly around and burn in it.
God, that looks so good. Oh, God.
Now, there are a few other skills we didn't cover, but there's one in particular that I think will open up a lot of builds.
Delicio!
Spell Totems. Spell Totems are meta gems that let
Diablo
you create
4
a
Season
totem that
11
will
looks
automatically cast
amazing.
any spell in the game for a time.
Awesome, buddy. Enjoy.
In order to create one, you will need to spend 3 endurance or 3 power charges. You could use them to throw fireballs, summon comets, or shower the area in lightning. Really, the options are kind of endless. Your bear form can easily generate endurance charges by consuming rage, and your wyvern form can easily create power charges by eating corpses. So it's pretty easy for the druid to get the charges needed, but they're also available from quite a few other places as well. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of different spellcaster classes thinking about how best to take advantage of these.
Hey, what's up, Isaac?
Now, of course, along
Is
with the new
it me or
class
the
comes a
graphic
bunch of new
shader
support
gets an
gems.
update too?
We've added over 30 new supports throughout the game.
The
but I'll
game
show you a
looks a
few of the
little
cooler ones
crisper.
here.
But they talk about
Fan the
the
flames can be
performance
added to any
improvements they
wind
made
skill to
later
spread
on.
fire from one ignited enemy to the other enemies behind them.
How you doing, Isaac?
It's great for the Wyvern's Wing Blast. But you can also use it on many other classes with wind skills, like the Twisters on the Huntress, or the Monk's Staggering Palm Projectiles. Accelerated growth causes extra explosive plants to erupt from the ground whenever
Doing
you
good.
grow
You're
plants
preparing
with
for a
rain.
Christmas party. Nice.
And Advancing Storm changes storm skills like your Thunderstorm or Tornado to move across the battlefield. It's great for watering plants en masse, or to turn tornadoes into a real disaster by sucking up multiple ground effects as they travel along.
Oh.
And the Sorceress might like to use it with Firestorm as well. Echoing Cry causes your Warcry skills to echo. They will repeat a couple more times with a delay after you use them, giving you more empowered attacks. Use it for the Druid's animal form Warcries, or
Yeah.
on the Warrior for a nice power
That
boost.
monkey.
Grounding Shocks causes monsters you shock to turn into living Tesla coils, arcing lightning to nearby enemies. You could use it with your empowered wings for an extra damage boost, but it's also great with any other shocking skill. Try it out with Lightning Spear. It obviously needed more AoE clear. There's a whole pile more, but we'll leave those for you to discover.
Yeah, you're right, Isaac. The
Now with a new class comes new
graphics
Ascendancy
look
classes.
crisper.
The Druid will have 2 options for now, with a third being released later. The first class is the Shaman. The Shaman channels nature's elemental fury and can harness rage as a spellcaster, unifying his animalistic and magical tendencies. By allocating Druidic Champion, you gain spell damage the angrier you are, and with Furious Wellspring, you generate rage continuously and can spend it to empower your spells. With the knowledge of the Asmerian Magi, the Shaman can harness untapped power from runes and idols. After allocating Wisdom of the Magi, you will notice that all runes and idols have extra mods only available to the Shaman. These new mods unlock countless new possibilities for enhancing your build. You can also allocate Bringer of the Apocalypse, allowing you to become a walking natural disaster. After dealing enough elemental damage, storms of all elements rain around you, destroying all who would face nature's fury. There are other abilities for the Shaman, but I'll just show a few from each class for now. The other Druid Ascendancy is the Oracle. The Oracle perfected the power of foresight and utilizes this in combat to gain massive advantage. When taking Fateful Vision, you will see visions of your future self using specific skills. If you decide to follow this path by using the skill yourself, it will do significantly more damage.
That's what everyone says, Mage and Koba. What does he perfect?
And utilizes this in combat to gain massive advantage. The Oracle perfected the power of foresight and utilizes this in combat to gain massive advantage. When taking Fateful Vision, you will see visions of your future self using specific skills. If you decide to follow this path by using the skill yourself, it will do significantly more damage.
The human form looks
And with
like
Converging
a
Paths, at a
sorceress.
critical moment in battle when a monster is vulnerable to freeze, stun, or electrocution,
It is an
Oracle can use
elemental
Moment of
caster.
Vulnerability to see a vision of the enemy's future, and then merge it with the current timeline, allowing him to deal damage to both.
That's crazy.
And one of my favorites, when you first become an Oracle, you'll notice over 130 new extra passives appear in the Druid section of the tree. By allocating the Unseen Path, you use your power of foresight to learn from alternate futures and gain skills that would otherwise be unavailable to you. For example, self-sacrificing allows you to be able to summon more minions by reducing the spirit costs, with the trade-off of making your reservation skills cost more spirit.
Wow.
Or Corruption Endures, which allows
130.
oracles to have a small chance to avoid death. Both the Druid Ascendancies offer interesting and unique ways to gain modifiers that no other classes can get, so we're expecting a huge variety
Lots
of
of
build
build
possibilities from
possibilities
these.
with Druid. Yeah.
Now there are unique talismans for the Druid to use as well. We won't spoil all of them, but this one was particularly cool. Fury of the King turns your bear form into a fire demon, converting most of your damage to fire. As a demon, you can also use Molten Crash, a jumping slam attack that leaves fissures around you. This unique also continuously grants glory, allowing you to use your ultimate abilities more easily. Now of course the Druid isn't the only thing we're adding to 040. We still have a bunch more to show, With every new release, we create a new league with new mechanics, new pinnacle bosses,
Here we go.
and with a new story to tell. And this
Here's the
time
new
is
league.
no exception. So let's roll the trailer for the Fate of the Val.
Fate of the Val.
Palace of Queen Atziri. It is a ruin.
4 boobies.
In the dark, machines still churn.
You guys got kids in the room. Take them out. There's boobies coming up.
The temple has many functions. And with it, a chance to save the Val. A gateway through time.
4 titties. That's right, Isaac.
Travel into the past. Again and again. Alter the temple. Uncover its secrets. You will be rewarded for your sacrifice. And somewhere in the deepest chamber, my queen awaits. I beg of you, hear me. The beast cannot give you what you desire.
You may have studied it, Doriani, but you do not know it like I do. It adores me. Come now, give unto me your desire. At last, fulfill my soul.
She nasty.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. In the Fate of the Val League, you will find remnants of the ancient Val civilization scattered throughout Rayclast. They seem to attract nearby creatures and affect them strangely. After killing them, the remnant appears to gain some amount of power, but not enough to fully activate it. It seems you will need to find 5 more of these arcane devices, and sacrifice the monsters you find there to fully activate one. But things don't always go to plan. These devices are old, and sometimes infected by corruption.
Jesus
Twisted
Christ.
versions of ancient Val may emerge, and sometimes even stronger foes. On fully activating one of the devices, you finally discover its true purpose. A portal opens and takes you deep underground to a lost temple, once the home of Atziri, Queen of the Val. What treasures could still be inside? I think you're gonna want to find out. In front of the entrance is a console of some kind, and on activating it, you can see a map of the temple. Atziri's personal chambers are on the far side, but how could anyone get there? There are disconnected rooms, and the layout doesn't seem to make sense. And that's when you realize the purpose of the ancient devices scattered through Rayclast. The temple is powered by sacrifice, and this energy can be used to modify the very structure of the temple itself. Each time you run the temple, you will be given 6 rooms that you can place, allowing you to craft your own dungeon to explore. Place paths to link up the dungeon, and place rooms beside them full of precious loot. After you are happy with your choices, open the temple and discover the results of your efforts. Each room contains different challenges along with its rewards. On entering a room, the doors will slam shut behind you and you will need to face the encounter within. But choose wisely. It's important where you place the rooms to get maximum returns.
She double corrupted her tits?
For example, when placing a commander,
You
you
guys are
could just place it anywhere along an existing path, but a much better strategy is to place it next to a garrison of troops for him to command.
Double corrupted.
With
yep.
better leadership,
It's actually a
the
new
garrison
mechanic.
will level up, making the monsters harder, but also
But she
more
had 4
rewarding.
titties before this league.
Different rooms have different requirements for leveling up. For example, if you want to fully level up a smithy, you will need to supply it with golems from an adjacent golem works, and hook up a generator to the power network to supply it with power. After doing so, the golem is much more dangerous.
You went.
You
Atsiri
don't
went
need
to
to
Dr.
memorize what
Beast for
interacts with what.
implants?
When selecting a room, you will be shown the locations that will make other rooms level up, and exactly what effect it will have on the temple. After running the temple, a few of the rooms will destabilize and be removed. It will be up to you to rebuild the temple, adding 6 more rooms each time you come back, making the temple larger and larger and larger. So,
Oh my
that's
God,
the
I
basic
can't wait to see
functionality
my
of the
temple.
But there is a lot more.
A lot
Once
of dead
Doriani
ends.
finds out about your travels to Leraval, he will attempt to persuade you to take on a new mission. The temple entrance contains a prototype of the time portal device. It will be able to take you back in time,
Boarding
but
rooms.
only to one specific point, right before Itzeri triggered the cataclysm that destroyed the Val. He requests that you go back and attempt to stop Itzeri to prevent the Val from ever being destroyed. Itzeri is on the far side of the temple, so you will need to expand the temple significantly to get to her. And even worse, her chambers can only be unlocked by a room that isn't currently accessible to you. In order to deal with that, you are going to need to visit the architect of the temple. To get to him, you will need to place path rooms, but while doing so, you will probably want to exploit some of the Val technology only available in the past. Once you can travel into the past, a whole new set of rooms are available to you, and they have some pretty insane rewards. At level 1,
That's some
the
pretty
corruption
decent
chamber
damage
can be
right there.
used to corrupt a single item.
Sure,
But placing it
Astromentus.
next to
Yeah,
a
yeah,
thaumaturge
sure.
to run the place, and a sacrificial chamber to provide soul energy, you'll be able to level it up. And it's worth it. Because once you get the room to level 3, there are some very nice rewards to be had. In a level 3 corruption chamber, you will find this mysterious device. It has a slot to place an item, and it only accepts items that are already corrupted. What will happen to them? Well, normally once an item is corrupted, you can't modify it any further. But this device allows you to corrupt your item a second time, adding another enchantment. This has the capability to craft some very powerful items indeed. But be warned, the Val are all about taking risks in the pursuit of power. There is a 50% chance that the item will be destroyed.
How do you think that's gonna go, boys? Hey, once people start losing their items, 50% chance. Whew. I don't know.
Each room has its own interesting mechanics and rewards when it levels up. Many of them contain bosses to fight, special drops, and in many cases, new crafting opportunities. For example,
Did you see that? They didn't mention it. Modifies a corrupted skill gem unpredictably or destroys it. So another 50-50, I would assume. And it's clear, you know how in my last video we talked about, when I talked about crafting, I said, you know, 03 was very easy to make hit on all the affixes on an item if you knew what you were doing. It's like some people were complaining the crafting was too OP. So one of the things we discussed in my last video is you know, in 04 is GGG gonna kind of scale it back a little bit, and the fact that the two that they've mentioned already is 50-50, you can tell that they're kind of bringing it back a little bit. Did we get the third ascendancy? Nope. No third ascendancy.
for example, a level 3
No
alchemy
trap,
lab
sorry.
has a nasty Val construct to
Toda.
fight. But if you can defeat it, you can find new corrupted soul cores. Like Guatalizzi's thesis, which on boots allows you to sacrifice your life to run faster. Or Sitaqualotl's thesis, which on gloves will revive one of your minions whenever an offering expires. Get a sacrificial chamber to level 3, and you will need to face a highborn priest of sacrifice. Defeat him to be able to further corrupt a Val unique, modifying it in unpredictable ways.
Replaces up to 2 modifiers on a corrupted Val unique. Replaces other uniques with a corrupted unique of the same item class. Okay,
One of the mods of this unique
nothing
will
in
be
there about
removed
destroying.
and replaced with another random mod. For example, this Soul Mantle. It gives you an additional totem, but lowers your totem's life and curses you when they die. By using the machine, this could result in a terrible item if you remove the good mod, but also some amazing items if you replace the downside. Now, one extra thing to mention about these Val crafting machines. You don't have to take the items you want to craft into the temple. If you don't have the item you want to craft with you at the time, then clicking this button will allow you to create a currency item instead, allowing you to do the craft later or trade it if you want. Now, there are all sorts of interesting rooms you can find in the temple, but the last one I want to show you today is the Flesh Surgeon. A Val Flesh Surgeon can be leveled up by placing him next to a high-level synth flesh lab. But be careful. The Flesh Surgeon has some rather unpleasant experiments in his personal lab. Afterwards, you might notice the surgery table just sitting there. The Val are great at crafting items. Why not do some crafting on yourself? After laying down, you'll be asked which limb you'd like to replace.
Wow.
Left arm, perhaps your right leg.
Ooh.
Each limb can get a different set of random bonuses, so choose wisely. After getting up from the table, try out your new limb. It seems to work fine, and even perform better than your normal one. Now, there is just one thing with replacing body parts. If you die and are resurrected, your body will return to its natural state. You might need to return to the Val Surgeons if you want another robot arm, and maybe get a better one next time. Some rooms, like the Commander, can give you a new type of reward.
Any limb?
Medallions that can be used
On the
to
whole
manipulate
body?
the temple in other ways.
Or are we just talking arms and legs?
Using a Quipalartl's medallion will allow you to artificially boost a room, even if it doesn't meet the normal requirements to level up.
No, Mage and Cobalt, that's got to be that's got to be human form. I doubt it said body part, so I'm assuming it's restrictive to the human form. Well, if you're talking druid, but that's for all classes.
And a
At
Huatalotli's
least
medallion
that's how I'm
will stop
interpreting it.
rooms from destabilizing when you complete a temple,
Cyborg
allowing
League,
you to
yeah.
guarantee getting a reward a second time. Great if you want to stock up on double corrupts. Now, with all that aside, time to face the Architect, and you will be in for a fight.
Oh,
Once defeated, you will find another console that can be used to modify the temple. But this one is special. It allows you to place new types of rooms with specific rewards.
tablet research.
There are rooms with specific uniques, special runes, and currency.
Okay, so
But
you can
also
kind
a few
of
other more
target
niche
farm some
crafting
shit.
experiments. Like
destroy an equipped item, returning any augments socketed in it.
this one, that can extract the socketables back out of an item, at the cost of destroying it.
Nice. Oh my
Now,
god.
something really important is
That's so good. I hated just losing ruins for nothing. Oh, that's not bad. That's good.
Every
Like
league
that.
we release a significant amount of content for the in-game. In order to make sure that the Fate of the Veil works well for late-game players, we've added many mechanics to make sure that you can scale the difficulty and rewards to match.
Getting some rooms to level 3 adds extra mods to the entire dungeon.
And that's where
And these stack with each
I
other.
dipped into my
So
Queen
in
Xbox
endgame,
when he made that
when you can
statement.
get some
I'm like,
really big temples, you can generate a challenge that can even match the strongest of characters. We also start to introduce ways to store up energy for the temple, allowing you to save up many runs so you can do them later at your leisure and not interrupt your mapping too often. Now in each league, it's important that we have a new pinnacle boss to test your character's might. In the Fate of the Veil, you will get to face Adzeri while she was at the peak of her power.
the Queen of the Boobies.
One of the rewards you will gain by defeating the Architect is the ability to place the Royal Access Chamber. Once connected to your temple, you can visit it to finally reach the Queen of the Veil herself. This fight takes place at a critical moment in history, right as Adzeri communes with the beast's power and takes her true corrupted form. Now, we are not going to show you the whole fight, but we will tempt you with one of the rewards. This is Adzeri's rule. This staff gives additional levels to all of your corrupted gems and lets you trade life for extra damage. But in addition to that, while using the staff, mirrors of refraction will constantly appear on the battlefield. Any projectile you fire at these will split into a nova, and they can chain from one to the other. So, that's the Fate of the Veil League. But we are also bringing the previous league, Rise of the Abyssal, into the core game, along with a few changes. Now, for those of you who haven't seen what happens when a league is over, it's important to understand that you will not be seeing abysses in every area anymore. Rise of the Abyssal is now one of the league mechanics that can show up randomly in endgame. If you want to specialize in running abysses, there is now a tablet that will allow you to add them to any map you run. You can also craft the tablet to add abyss-specific mods to enhance how they function. Now that Abyss is core, it also needs its own Atlas tree.
This is another moment when I was watching this and I saw the Atlas and they panned down. I'm like, they're keeping the same Atlas tree? Oh my god.
Now that Abyss is core, it also needs its own Atlas tree. You can gain your first points by completing an Abyss,
That's where I got really sad.
but there are more available for doing depths and killing certain bosses. And there are a bunch of different options.
Well, the one that's in POE 2,
You
Isaac,
might
yes.
just want more monsters and bosses. But you can also make finishing an Abyss have a chance to overrun a nearby map with the Abyssal. Or make your Waystone modifiers also apply to Abyssal depths. You
They talk about this later on in the video, Isaac. I don't think there's anyone that likes the current Atlas tree in POE 2, and GGG recognizes that, and they're going to talk about it. But it's just lackluster. There's nothing in it that really ties to the end game. I know there are, like I said in my previous video, like, yeah, you can focus on strong boxes and stuff like that. But there's got to be more, and Mark talks about it later on. The only reason why I said when I saw this the first time I watched it, my heart sunk because I'm like, fuck, they haven't done anything in the end game, because there's no way they're gonna leave this in the game, like at the one later on. But we'll talk more about it when they talk about it.
could specialize in the interaction with other leagues, or specialize in a specific Abyssal faction. One of the important elements that we have heard loud and clear is that needing to do Abyss crafting on Waystones is quite annoying. So, we have removed that.
Fuck.
In fact, we have removed instilling from Waystones as well. This mechanic felt mandatory on maps because it boosted the value of all other content, but it was both annoying to do and resulted in a lot of visual clutter. Instead, we are bringing back some of that power on tablets, which you don't need to craft nearly as often, since they last for 10 maps each. Once you defeat the Arbiter of Ash, you will be able to upgrade tablets to a rare with 4 mods using regular currency. Even this isn't enough to fully bring back the power you could have gotten from instilling, so we have also buffed the bonuses that tablets give. Going forward, we're not going to be adding any more crafting directly to Waystones outside of the basic currency, because it adds too much micromanagement. But on that note, Fate of the Vaal does bring the ability to corrupt your tablets, hoping to get one of many different random outcomes. Now, with regard to Delirium Fog, even though you shouldn't have to have it on every map anymore, we still did want to make it less visually annoying. Delirium Fog has been toned down significantly, so you won't feel like you're just playing in a sea of grey. Another big source of problems in the endgame is the feeling of getting overwhelmed with monsters. In 031, we reduced the number of monsters in early endgame in order to help with this, but still scaled up the number of monsters to previous levels by the time you got to tier 15. Well, after letting this simmer for a while, we are still getting this kind of feedback. So we are no longer going to scale up the number of monsters you go as you get deeper into the endgame. Instead, we are scaling up the difficulty and rewards by the same amount. So to be clear, instead of increasing the number of monsters by 40%, they will instead drop 40% more items, grant 40% more experience, and have 40% more life, in addition to all the normal scaling they get due to being higher level. This only applies to regular monsters, not bosses. We have also reduced the...
What do you guys think about that? I think, because I'm kind of on the fence. Like, no one liked to get mobbed to death. But I hope them changing this with reducing the mob density, I hope maps don't feel empty, if that makes any sense. And I'm very curious to see the 40% increase in drops, 40% increase in XP. That sounds good, but again, it's less mobs. So anyway, we'll see. I'm not sure what to think. People like clearing huge screens, but for certain builds, it would help make them feel better. Yeah. Well, the initial problem with that was people were coming out of the campaign. You know, their build still wasn't up to snuff, so they're walking into maps and it's like, you know, they're getting gangbanged everywhere. So GGG said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the mob density in the lower tier maps, and as you progress to the higher tiers, we'll increase the mob density. So by the time you get to tier 15s and, you know, you get to the higher tiers, it's back to where it was in the beginning of when you walked into the end game. My only fear is, I think this is good. In theory, it sounds right. I just hope it works out to be, like, the math works out that way. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be less mobs. But it is 40% increase on drops and XP. So, and HP. So we'll see. Yeah, I guess the jury will be out. We'll see how it pans out. I just hope it doesn't, like, you know what I'm getting at? You kill a bunch of mobs and then you gotta, walk 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and then there's another set of, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want that up and down flow. It'd be that I kind of liked the constant action. You know what I mean? It was a little bit overkill, and you're right, Mage and Koba. It depends on your build, right? If your build can handle it. It could be very frustrating if your build doesn't have a lot of AoE. So I get it. It is frustrating. Just what I find frustrating is how they corner you and push you. And I thought when they fixed the dodge rolling, where our character box got reduced so we could dodge roll even though we were surrounded. That doesn't work all the time. At least that in my experience. That's what I find frustrating. Is the fact that you can't move, where we should be able to dodge away. But anyway, we'll see.
Speed modifiers that monsters can get sometimes, which also helps a lot with this. Now,
Yeah.
we did have a large amount of content
Can't
for
know until you
in-game
feel
planned
it.
for 040, but unfortunately we just didn't get time to finish it. The scope was a bit too large, and so we'll need to wait until 050 for that. But rest assured, there will be a ton of upgrades for the existing leagues, as well as new pinnacle bosses, and a significant overhaul to the Atlas passive tree coming soon. Now, another problem that becomes a much bigger issue in the endgame is game performance. And we have done a lot of work here. The primary issue is CPU load. And to address that, a lot of things have been optimized. And we have done a lot of work to take advantage of more of your CPU cores. You should see frame rates of at least 25% higher, and a lot less bad frame spikes during gameplay. It does make quite a big difference, especially on consoles. A lot more work in this area is ongoing, and you will continue to see performance improvements over the next few months. Of course, another important
That's
area
good.
is game balance, and we have made a lot of changes. Now, most of these we will save for the patch notes, but I'll do a quick summary of some of the numbers. As well as adding 11 new unique items, we have rebalanced dozens of others that are not currently used very often. We've also done a pass over lineage supports. 21 of them have been rebalanced, as well as adding 9 more. Alongside the 2 new Druid ascendancies, we have made balance changes to almost all the others, with some of them getting a grander rebalance, such as the Smith of Katava. Alongside the 20 plus new Druid skills, we've also rebalanced 90 other active skills across all the different classes. And to top it all off, there are also over 250 new passive skills added to the passive tree. These changes should go a long way to increase the viability
Wow.
of many more skills, uniques, and overall build variety that can tackle our most challenging content. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new supporter packs.
Money, 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 money.
Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Precursor and Kalgurin packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions.
What are we gonna buy? What are we gonna buy?
As always,
Show me.
the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Precursor series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. First up, the Marble Statue character effect. Once you finally stay still for a moment, a podium rises up out of the ground to immortalize you, turning your skin to marble. When you next move, the stone crumbles around you. The Precursors had mastery over gravity manipulation. So too can you, now with the Gravity Well portal. Witness the power of its pull as you approach it.
Turn the lights down.
Draw in enemies with your own gravitational pull with the Awakened Precursor armor set. The Precursors designed and built many mysterious ancient beings. This one used to serve as a scout that would patrol and tase intruders. Why salvage gear yourself when the Master of the Forge can do it for you? Molten gold spills out as the Forge Master breaks down your items. The Relic of the Precursor's map device is a mysterious machine that sits atop ancient colossal statues.
Wow.
It keeps track of the number of charges consumed on your Precursor tablets used in the device. The Kalgurin pack series also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. The Kalgurins had astounding skill in astronomy, being able to track cosmic events with absolute precision. Harnessing that skill, with the Astronomer's level up effect equipped, you too can now see exactly how long it took you to level up as it outputs the time in chat. The time
my
taken to
God.
reach your last
I don't know if I
3
want
levels
that.
is also displayed on the item,
so you can link it when you
What?
have a time you're proud of.
Whoa, what?
Crush unique
Adds an astronomer's effect when you level up and tracks the time taken to level up. Currently tracking the time taken to level up. Reach level 30. Reach level 30. Wow. Ooh, I'm going to be hiding that one.
item, so you can link it when you have a time you're proud of. Crush unique enemies by unleashing the wrath of the lost Kalguran fleet, led formerly by Captain Heartland himself. A Kalguran seafarer needs armor fit for the treacherous seas of Rayclast. This set has you covered with the classic tricorn and, of course, a peg leg. The Lost Treasure weapon skins top off your appearance of a true raider of the seas. These gilded weapons can be applied to wands, two-hand maces, and shields. After a long day of plundering loot, retreat to the Kraken's Cove hideout, a home of some of the most deadly ocean-dwelling creatures in Rayclast. Many ships have met their demise here. What better to accompany you in
badass.
Kraken's Cove than a kraken itself? Replace your stash with a dormant kraken, waiting for its prey. As you approach, it will awaken and terrify both you and any guests in your hideout. Alongside this, an extra stash skin item will be granted to you, and when placed, will automatically open to any stash tab set with the currency affinity, to help having to navigate through your tabs. Additionally, any microtransactions from these supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 1.
There you go, boys. That's it. It was 42 minutes long.
The Imperium of Man has stood for 10,000 years, guarded.
Welcome back, Exiles, to the Q&A portion. I am your host, Ziggy D, and today we're going to be touching on the design of the Druid and the Fate of the Vaal League while we gather some community questions.
And the Q&A
Then
was
we'll dive into
215.
endgame, balance, and other game design topics. I am, of course, joined by...
Now, I do want to say something. I had this in the background because I was working, so it was background noise for me, but I was listening, and I don't think they go into the end game until like an hour and a half into the Q&A, which I like. Was it just me? But the elephant in the room after that live reveal was, I thought 04 was the end game patch along with the Druid. I just don't understand how. Again, I'm nitpicking right now. Ziggy's great at what he does. He's a good interviewer. But I just, an hour and a half, I think it was, an hour and 40 into the interview, they broached that topic. They literally spent, I think, the first hour, Druid design, the fate of the Vaal, like, yeah, here we go, yeah. So, end game, an hour in, I don't think rare monsters, balance. Okay, it was an hour in. I could have sworn it was later. I kind of hoped he would have started with, it must have been a big decision not to do anything with the endgame in 04 after it was promoted as an endgame patch. Like, I thought that should have been that was the big elephant in the room. Anyway, that's just me. They need to hire more. They don't have the staff to support both games. One update in 03 and a filler. They are so far behind, it's making both games feel like they're behind. Yeah, like I can't argue with you. I've been saying since the beginning that when it comes to POE 2, I think it's clear that they've bitten off more than they can chew, and they're just, they're playing catch up. They're playing catch up. I think Druid was a big haul for them. And when you're behind and you don't have enough resources and you're running two games, live service games, 2 months apart, It just, again, it doesn't change my view on the game. This Path of Exile 2 will be the best ARPG in the future. It's just, again, if 04 wasn't promoted as an endgame patch, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. But there's something to be said about the fact that, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in October, before early access, I think it was October, we had the delay, right? So it was supposed to be November something, and you guys correct me if I have the dates wrong. It got pushed from November to December 6th, I believe. And the reason, and GGG did a 360. Initially, they wanted to release early access with the full campaign and just not really focus too much on endgame. Then they saw what happened with D4, and they're like, fuck it. We're not going to stop focusing on the campaign. We'll release whatever we have. And it was Acts 1 to 3. And we just repeated it in cruel mode. And let's focus on the end game, right? This is the story that we heard. December 6th comes. Okay, so this is before the release of early access, right? Now, granted, they made that decision in like September, October, no, I think, sometime around there. Okay, so the game launches December. So that's not a lot of time to course correct, especially on the end game. And they shifted because D4 was getting a lot of flack. People were getting to the end game and they're like, where's the end game? And everybody was complaining about it, right? So Jonathan and team are like, we don't want that to happen. So, okay, let's focus on the end game. Well, fast forward, we are 1 year and we're still waiting for the end game to get fixed. That's kind of where I'm like, wait a minute, this was supposed to be a focus and we're 1 year in, right? Again, doesn't change my opinion of the game. I'm not malding. I'm not spacing out. I'm not, the sky is falling. This game's going to be the best ARPG. 100%. Lock it in, money. It's guaranteed almost, as much as it can be guaranteed. I have full faith in them. But it's just, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, I thought the end game was the priority and we're 1 year in. Now, yes, there's a lot of other things that are going on, but, with all due respect, and I might get some shit for this, I would have rather pushed the Druid back. That's what I would have rather pushed the Druid back and say, we just had so, and you guys are going to hear it. Mark talks about they have big plans for the end game. The Atlas tree is not even going to be the same from what we know today. He talks about this infinite world having no purpose, no meaning. That's going to change, right? And he refers to POE 1 where, we have the Atlas completion and all that kind of stuff, right? And juicing. And there's so many things we can do in POE 1 when it comes to the end game, strategies, farming, what content we want to play. And again, I understand POE 1 is, years and years and years in the making. We're still, it's 1 year new. I get it. But I just scratched my head that we're still talking about fixing what players spend probably the most of their time. That's the end game. I don't know too many people that play a game for the campaign, right? So that's kind of where I'm like, but we'll see. Now they said 05. So does that mean 05 you're going to have the end game done? Or 05 is going to be, I can tell you one thing. I've been pushing, if you watch my content on YouTube, my videos, I have a time frame. And my prediction was August, I think. I'd have to go back and look at my time frame for going out of early access. We're going to be at the pace we're going at here. This is going to be a December 2026 release. Unless they move mountains. Like in this patch, we did not get the third trial, Trial of the Ancestors. We didn't get it. We didn't get any new ascendancies added to any of the other classes outside of the 2 that are coming with the Druid. We now have 8 classes in the game when 04 comes out. That's still 4, but Jonathan's already said we don't have to, if we don't get all the classes out before like going 1.0, no big deal. We'll just go into 1.0 and we'll release whatever's left over. So that's not a stopgap, but we still have 4, which means they have to design them, right? And make sure everything is good. What else? Trials thing, craft. Oh, balancing. We can talk about balancing. Like the end game. The end game is the big one. Fine. Like 05, let's say you put the end game, but what happens if it doesn't hit? Then there's fixing, and so there needs time there, right? So to me, I think we're August is going to be tight. I think it's going to be this 2-year anniversary. It's a lot of work. I don't know if they have the current team for it. POE 2 is still great. POE 2 it's a great game. My only thing is a lot of people are going to skip. Some people are going to skip 04 because they didn't do anything in the end game. And even if they don't skip it, it's going to have the same, to me, it's going to have the same feeling as 03, where people are going to get to the end game and then they're going to dip earlier than they normally would. That's my first impression. We'll see. I might be wrong. I assume December 2026, but at the rate they are working, I don't know if that's even realistic. Well, who knows, right? Who knows? You may be right. But Sammy, I still don't get why they're aiming. I don't see the full vision yet. No swords yet. Okay, I don't know everybody with this swords. Guys, there's the class, and I don't know which one has the swords. Shit. I forget which one. Like, that's just a matter of the class is not in the game. Right? Once it is, you'll be good. So, and the vision, I think the vision is going to get cleared up once they do this major rehaul of the end game. My guess is they'll be pumping out content this league when it's ready and not waiting until next league. No. I don't think so. I don't think so, Rez. No. And no disrespect, like the league mechanic, the Fate of the Vol, that looks like a lot of work. Like there is a lot of meat in this league in 04. There is. It looks like it anyway. I think a lot of people are going to be able to put a lot of time into that mechanic. There's crafting in it. There's, obviously loot drops. There's 3 tiers, so there's the difficulty aspect of it. You get to fight Aziri. So there's a lot there in the league mechanic. I think June next year will be the full release of the game. I hope you're right. Duelist. There you go. The Duelist. For sure. And fixing graphic issues did a lot of time and hard work for sure. Well, yeah, the performance is an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing thing, and I'm glad that they're still focusing on it. And, we saw they did the frame rate comparison, so that's good to see. But yeah, like, it's a shame people spend a lot of money on, like, I have a pretty high-end PC, And the fact that I'm DCing and crashing, and now it's gotten better. It was horrible in 0.2. It got better in 0.3. Much, much, much better. And I would imagine from the looks of it, the 0.4 is going to also be an improvement. So we're getting there. But they also did major advancements on the performance on consoles, which is a big bone of contention. I don't play on console anymore, but I heard it over and over, and you just got to go on Reddit and, you know, it's console performance, left, right, and center. So I'm glad that they highlighted that, and we'll see. The console players will come in here and tell me whether or not that's true, but we'll see. But the performance thing is something that they're always going to continue to address and make it less heavy for, you know, PCs and consoles. So no more FPS drops like in a bit. Yeah, like, you know, when your screen got full, it just dropped. And there was, you know, a handful of times in 0.3 where my screen froze. You know, Abyss didn't help. The Abyss mechanic didn't help. That's for sure. You know, you guys saw the huge density, which was amazing. I loved it. Except those fucking beamy fuckers. Those guys were assholes. But anyway, yeah. Duelist or Shadow? I can go get my book. I have the artwork. I can maybe do a quick see look there. But anyway, my only concern, again, is the retention in this league. You know, I think a small percentage are going to skip it. And I don't know if this is going to hold people longer. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's the player base as a whole. For me personally, as soon as I get to the end game in Path of Exile 2, I hit the boredom wall quicker. And I think that's true for a lot of players. You just hit the boredom wall quicker. And for me, I'm very fickle with games. When I start getting bored, it affects everything. My streams are shorter. You could see it on my face. I'm not enjoying it, which impacts my streams. There's nothing to talk about, so I don't do content on YouTube. So, you know, I know that doesn't impact a lot of people. People just want a good game. But to me, this game, it's going to be an S tier game. It's just, I'm shocked. It took a lot of balls to do what they did today and say, there's a lot to do in endgame and we just couldn't get it done. We're punting it down the field. That takes a lot of fucking balls, man. Especially when you promote it as the endgame patch, man. Wow. Shadow is daggers and traps. S tier, I'm pretty. They did some graphic shader changes, I'm pretty sure, Sammy. Well, we'll see, Isaac. Next week, right? Next week, the 12th. Okay, let's get to the Q&A. Guys, I don't know if I want to endure 2 hours of this, because I got to be honest, the first hour, you know, and I looked over every once in a while. I had it on the Path of Exile stream, and like, okay, you know, the comments section, you know, you take it with a grain of salt, because there's people in there just to shit on everything, right? But it was not healthy. So anyway.
Hi, game directors Jonathan Rogers and Mark Roberts. How you guys going today?
Oh, very good. I mean, you know, it's been a great one to work on, this one. Like, I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's definitely great to see you again. And it feels like it's only been like no time at all since the last time you were here with the POE1 release.
It feels like only several weeks, and that's pretty accurate.
yeah.
We get to see you twice as often now, so that's fun.
Yeah, I'm around every 2 months or so now, roughly. It's great. I love it. Let's keep going. So I do have to open with this, though. Is like, Druid looked a little bit weak, I think, in the demonstration demonstration video today.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we have is like we're so concentrating on like just demonstrating how the mechanics work that we sort of forget to be like, okay, let's actually make sure the damage numbers that we're doing on this like test character we're filming here are actually like in line with what people actually normally expect. So yeah, there's just a few things there that we probably should have caught and made a little stronger there. But yeah, when you actually play it, it's certainly from the alpha feedback incredibly powerful. Like
Yes.
you know, the like, you know, we were seeing some people say, oh, you know, the wolf looks weak or whatever. Well, I can assure you that on alpha there's a bunch of people saying the wolf is super OP. So you know, it just comes down to the things you go through in order to demonstrate
I
stuff.
think we probably going to be worthwhile. We make some videos showing a bit more of the
Yeah.
less demonstratey side and get them posted and stuff this week. Because honestly, you can just play it literally right now, and it's you know.
Yeah, I've definitely been playing and recording a bit myself because I was like, when I first watched it as well, the draft, I was thinking, it's like, I don't really get a feel for what it feels like to actually play it. Like, there's good demonstration here of the mechanics, but yeah, I can understand how from your perspective, it'd be pretty easy to be like, oh, we want to communicate how this cool thing works and this cool thing works.
There's a fine line there for sure. Where if you get too hectic, people are like, I don't even know what's going on. They're just looking at a ruckus. And then, yeah, in this case, let's say we went on a little too far on the other side of the line, was just a bit too slow. And as a result, yes, it can look a bit weak. But
yeah, I think we'll try and get some like raw druid gameplay out to people to understand.
Sure.
I think particularly for this class, because of the shape-shifting stuff, it's so hard for us to, normally we can look at something.
Getting back to the sword comment, like I have the book, right? And it's the gladiator that has the sword. Yeah. Anyway,
Be like, oh, that's just a demonstration. We kind of know what it would look like at endgame, but I think with the druid, it's just so unusual. It's so different that it's actually hard to judge what it would feel like to even play it. And I'm happy from my hands on to say that like it's almost immediately like very smooth, the shape shifting of it, the movement of, especially because like in your demonstrations you're not really using dodge, roll, sprint, that sort of thing as well, which makes a big difference.
I suppose one of the things we didn't really dwell on in the video as well is that we do actually have dodge roll. I mean, they're not actually rolls for the animals, but yeah, all the animals can like hop around and that kind of stuff. And that was honestly one of those things that was like kind of funny because initially,
yeah, Chris, I don't know if the naming convention in the book is going to translate to what it actually is going to be. But again, sorry, I don't mean to keep stopping the video, but this is their art book, okay? This is their art book. And it has all the character classes, right? So it's got the Marauder, the Witch. I'm just showing you what's in the book. The Shadow. The Ranger. Templar. Mercenary. Warrior. Gladiator. Druid. Huntress. Of course, the Sorceress. That's it, right? Oh, no. Sorry. Monk. Monk. And that should be it, right? Yep. That's what's in their art book.
we actually had it so when you dodge rolled, you would transform back into a human. And the reason we did that
Templar's
is because it's really
too old
hard
to hold
make
a shield?
animations for animals that like actually work
It's holding
correctly.
a
Like, we
shield,
actually
bro.
thought it was impossible. But then when we actually put it on alpha, there was the kind of visceral reaction of I want to still be a bear, like, you know, while I'm hopping around. So we ended up having to like work out like how can we make this possible? How can we make it so that you can actually do the dodge
Templar's
roll in an animal? And that sort of ended up being pretty good, I would say.
And this was like clearly the classist, like the hardest class to design so far, and it took a bit longer. Like I think you were originally hoping to bring it out in a previous
Flail.
Yeah, quite a while ago. But the thing is with it is that it's kind of like designing 4 classes in one.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
because
book.
Not only do you have the situation where
Beautiful.
like obviously we want to have synergy between skills and stuff like that, and we can like look at that in a normal class and
Came
work
on
out
my
what those
supporter
might be.
pack.
But with this class, people want to be able to play just as a bear or just as a wolf, as well as people who want to play like dual with a human and a wolf, or people who just want to be a wolf and a bear, and like all the different combinations. So we had to kind of come up with a way for like each line needs to be self-sufficient and that it's got all the tools that you need.
There you go.
But at the same time, you have to not have it so it feels like there's just duplication between them. We're like, oh, like this is just the same thing as what a bear has, but you know, you are a wolf instead. So we kind of have to like, it's like you need all the tools, and yet you also need to have them feel different. And that just made it really, really tricky to get all the things right with it. And then it didn't also help that, since the last time we were working on the Druid, way back when we showed it off in Gamescom 2023, we had WSD. And that is a whole other complication because, you know, like how can we make that work with the animal forms? It's like a whole thing. Like I'll tell you the Wyvern, for example, like we had a hell of a time making it so that you could do the ranged attacks because you need to be able to walk while you're doing it. The Wyvern's sitting there with its arms like planted on the ground, you know, like being able to walk while also spinning it. Yeah, it's like we went through so many iterations of that. So yeah, it was just a very tricky class overall, like just crazy.
I remember seeing some very goofy looking like Wyvern like months and months ago.
Yeah.
We were like trying to, this is not working right.
Right.
Like,
Well, I
this
also
does
remember
not
like
look right.
for a long time the wolf was just like a dancing dog. It was just like it looked really silly. And like man, the wolf as well. I mean, it was really hard to get right, and because one of the things we really wanted to avoid was I didn't want that too much of that whole like man in a wolf suit vibe.
Yes.
Like I wanted to actually get this the feeling of like this is an actually different animal, which I think with the bear and the wyvern's way easier. With the wolf, it's like it's really hard not to just go back into that. So we had a lot of questions about like what even the locomotion was. How does it walk? Are we going to walk on 2 legs? Are we going to walk on 4? We ended up splitting the difference. You can do both, right? Like you get that when you're attacking and you can be upright walking on 2 legs. When you're walking, you run on 4, and you actually do get a speed boost while you're on 4 legs. Like as a wolf, just so after like 1 second of walking, you go down on 4 legs. You start moving a bit faster. So yeah, it's
Actually,
pretty cool.
an interesting thing there, I don't think is each form technically has a kind of passive benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got the running fast as a wolf. Can't remember exactly what the wyvern ones were, but like for the bear, for example, because you're just a bit bigger, you know, a bit of a tank. You actually do get armor, and armor applies to elemental damage as a thing, and like, you know, there's a kind of, which is like honestly, unless you actually click the bear keyword, is like undescribed everywhere.
If I do play
there's even more
Druid,
than
it'd
that,
definitely
because I
be
was just looking
Wyvern.
at it in-game before.
I will not
The,
do bear, and I
has,
won't
like,
do wolf.
Passive endurance charge generation.
Yes, it
from
does.
Rage
So from
expenditure.
rage expenditure, it does.
I was like, that's so cool.
yeah. So we really wanted to make sure that each of the different forms had things that can benefit the other forms. So like it was really tricky to think like, what are resources that a bear can generate? What are the resources that wolf can generate? What are the ones the wyvern can generate that the other ones can then use in order to kind of get that cross synergy? So that's kind of like one of the reasons why we had to kind of come up with all that stuff. And that, part of the trickiness.
And that caught me by surprise as well, because like technically it's mentioned, but I never really fully understood the idea that you can swap between the forms, like human to animal and back. Yeah, I figured that's what's going on here. But but you can like leap in as a wolf and then immediately transform to a bear mid slam.
You absolutely can. So the thing with this is that you want to present a fantasy to someone as far as like what the UI is pushing you towards and all that sort of stuff. Like there are going to be a lot of people who are like, I want to be a bear, and they just pick bear stuff and they go all bear, right? But at the same time, we're unconstrained in the sense that you can pick all the other stuff. You can use it at the same time. So one talisman, like effectively when you pick on a talisman from like wolf, bear, or wyvern, what that's giving you is the default attack, right? That's what you're actually picking, and that's all it is, right? And that often will guide you like what skills you're picking and so on, but you can just use with that same talisman as many different animal skills as you would like. That just means that you've got that sort of free flowing, like, you know, trying out different stuff, sort of combo gameplay that we like to try and get. So obviously there will just be a lot of people who just pick one thing, right? Like I absolutely expect that. There's a lot of experimentation to do there if you want to do it.
Yeah, so you've tried to hit like making it so like people who just want like a simple straightforwards, like I just want to run out as bear and slam the ground, like that's certainly very possible there. But also you with this whole class you had the problem of how do we make like a spellcaster and a melee attacker that's shapeshifter as well. I mean, this class has got a bit of everything.
For sure.
How did you make all that kind of like work together and solve that build problem of like, how do you actually scale these things together in a way that just one thing isn't way better than everything else?
Right. Well, I mean, it's always tricky, and Mark's obviously the one who handles a lot of the balance stuff. But I can see, even just from a design perspective, so I just throw over the fence all my horrible stuff, and then you're like, how the hell am I going to balance this? Effectively, like, so even with the spellcaster side, so one of the things we initially wanted with the spellcasting is a lot of it's like over time type effects that, so for example, with the volcano being the really obvious one, right? Like you can create this thing, and then you can turn into an animal and do other stuff at the same time. So we needed on the human side a lot of things that last for a long time. But the problem you then run into when you actually go to balance the thing is like, okay, well, if you've just got like 5 damage over time style spells, why not just cast all of them and then you don't have to ever do anything else, right? Like, so it's like that kind of stuff makes it really hard. So then you have to start thinking, okay, we want to make it so that you cast a long-term thing as a human, but then being an animal is going to augment that so that it improves it. So for example, with the tornado, it's got a similar mechanic to the little twisters that the hunters have, where ground effects can empower it with extra elemental stuff. And so then we're like, okay, well, if the animal forms are the ones that can create the ground effects, then that means that you're kind of like, you're going to want to do, you know, like, to mix that with the tornado, you now have to have both the animal forms and the spellcaster stuff if you want to get all of that together. So it's just a lot of that thinking about how can an animal form aid a spell, how can a spell aid an animal form, like all the way through. And then, yeah, as I said, we throw it over the fence, and then Mark tries to work out what kind of numbers can actually make it
it's a web of infinite difficulty, right? Because like we're talking about the 4 forms within the class, but each of these skills also synergizes with every other class and every other skill in the game, and it's becoming growingly more complicated. But that's also what's fun about the game, and what all the things you can unlock and the crazy builds you can do. But yeah, I mean, like this week's focus has been like, okay, we had all the, like during our alpha testing and internal testing, we had like, you know, there was the I want to be all forms going between, there was the I just want to be wolf, I just want to be bear, I just want to be a dragon, and now we're getting a lot more of I just want to cast nature plant skills and do plant stuff. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we make that work? Well, because they're quite long duration, so we're having a bunch of complexity with that as well. And it honestly it does just spiral into like, oh my God, there's 20 million variables here. But it's fun.
You know, it is crazy. All the things that go in. It's
and at the end of the day, as long as it is honestly fun to play,
all the
honestly
logistics.
We're golden. So, you know, I would say we're pretty much there on almost everything with this class. I'd actually say we're a little bit more prepared than normal. We've had a lot of testing. Despite, I mean, partly because it's been in the works for so long. But yeah, it's, I don't know, like ultimately pretty fun. I'd say there's still something, obviously there's still more to do. There's obviously always more to do. But yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of enjoyment. I saw yesterday, I was just like walking past someone's computer and, you know, someone was mentioning like, yeah, it's just fun placing 6 volcanoes and then just slamming on them. I was like, all right, sweet, you do you. Like, that's fine.
I was definitely enjoying obliterating bosses in bear form, like with dropping tornadoes, and there's the totem which you can summon in animal form. And then you're putting fishes down and they're exploding, and you're putting extra things on the ground and they're exploding. And so there was definitely some boss deletion going on there. So.
Even just walking past the just many entangles going out, and then there's that plant support general. Like, all right, it's putting the new.
I see chat being like, no, Zig, you don't get it nerfed. I do have to admit that I did already get one thing, let's say fixed. Okay. There was a thing that was like double generating rage. So I'm like, I don't know if this was intended. Right. And like, no, the designer said that's probably not intended. Thanks, Ziggy. I'm like,
I don't know. We'll see where that goes, because I was like, no, that's fine.
This is a fish.
It made it to me, and I was like, no, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because it generates rage when you first slam, and then the fishes, every time they pulse, it generates rage. I'm like,
oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't even know that.
Because like the totem's making it pulse, and that's generating rage.
Right.
I'm like, that doesn't seem intentional.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I love that, because that's like ridiculously powerful. That feels like way permissive. I was like, this feels illegal, but that's like... You gotta let a few things in there that feel illegal.
It's doing what the skill says.
I may not have. Maybe I didn't get enough. Okay, cool.
I don't know. They might have changed it. I'll find out afterwards. I just throw my opinion in there. I don't want to necessarily be like, you know, I try and make sure with a lot of these balanced discussions, it's not like, you know, I'm just an authority on the matter. I want to actually discuss these things through, because maybe it isn't actually fine, but you know, my first instinct is like, yeah, like let it run wild. Like, what's the problem? You know, so
yeah, you gotta.
We'll see what happens, but whatever. They don't know what the problem is, so don't worry. Oh, now they do. Thanks, you've ruined it. Now people will know if it changed, and now
they'll see the thing not generating rage, and let's see that line of text. Now that's the Ziggy line of text. I'm developing a reputation now. Just helping finding bugs. It's okay. So, like the shapeshifting stuff comes from this trinket, the talisman?
Yeah, the animal talisman.
And there's is there any limitation to just kind of like putting that on another class and just say like, I am playing my Mace Marauder or my Quarterstaff Monk and I want to do a wolf leap slam that marks targets?
You can do it. In fact, it was one of the things initially that, it's funny with the audio team, because initially like, oh, we want to record like bear lines for the druid the whole time. And I'm like, hey guys, remember, anyone can turn into this animal. Are you actually going to commit to every single class is going to have like three different extra versions of every single line the character can deliver?
Maximum effort.
It's like, that's a bit tricky. So we ended up going with a voice mod in the end. But that was one of those.
It's like their thoughts. I think it shifts to. It almost sounds like, to me, that's what it sounds like. They're like, they're thinking it or something like that. I don't know.
But it would have been completely impossible to record every single line an additional 3 times.
Like,
so every character class.
Voice actors, everybody come back and we need to roar like a bear.
Exactly. Effectively, every class can be an animal. It's exactly the same as the other weapon restriction. Ultimately, being a bear is the same as having a mace, which may sound a little bit odd, but that is actually how it works and what allows having.
Whoa. I didn't even think about that. Wait, so you can use mace skills while in bear?
No. What I meant was that it's the same. I mean, it's the same in the sense that it's just a weapon type, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Damn it, now we have to make that possible.
Well, I mean, you can turn into Calm as a bear.
That's unique item territory for the future.
It often gets talked about like the idea of like, why are things like so weapon locked? And I've always maintained the position that you guys want to kind of do that as much as possible initially, and then in the future you can blur the lines a little bit. Like there's maybe in the future you're like, maybe this skill has a way of crossing over.
We can do, but the thing is, a lot of the identity of a weapon type really comes a lot from what it can do, and so that's the main reason why we do it that way. But but the thing is as well with the weapon swapping, you can still use skills from different elements. Different weapons and things like that.
Well, the thing is, like, it's funny that you mentioned that with the bear, because, like, definitely some of the bears, I noticed parallels between some of its skills and some of the mace stuff, and I could see absolutely combining, like, this bear skill that places fishes with the other stuff on the mace that triggers the fishes. Like, there's, like, very obvious, like, cross synergy build.
Well, I mean, they're adjacent classes, right? I mean, you've got, like, strength versus strength int. Like, we want to be able to make sure that some of those key elements do, like, cross over just so that to open up the way to have synergy between the different classes more easily.
Yeah. Well, as you get more classes and more skills, you obviously get an overlap of the kind of mechanics and keywords and stuff, iterating, and thus they will always cross-synergize. And where there still will be new things a class offers, yes, there's always going to be a bunch of stuff that they use that will then interact with all the other skills. So.
Yeah, and now you added plants and plants that grow from rain, and there's a plant keyword that has overgrown as a keyword.
It's interesting actually, those ones look a little bit hard to kind of like nature side of things for plants on the because now it's actually been really fun designing the supports, because the more classes we have, the more we can start to think, like here's a support that's for something obscure. How can we make it so this can apply to some other kind of thing on the opposite side of the tree where like now you've got some interesting interaction? So there could be some kind of like thing where growing plants as a ranger could be sort of something. I mean, like I can't say I've tested the potential there myself, but like we made all of that work. All the plants can, like plant stuff all has mechanics around like watering the rangers' plants is like a thing. They all have ways that works.
I mean, that definitely opens up interesting party options.
Right.
I don't know. You could play on the fact it's got like wings to something defensive for block or something for.
I don't think they go into anything.
Presenting odd pieces.
I don't think they go into
looks
anything
so
big
cool.
over here. I think we're going to go over to the league
kind of the
mechanic.
druid.
In it, they're not connected.
That
just happened.
Yeah, that was total accident, by the way. It was just like two totally unrelated.
Yes, sure. I was praising the equality of it. Like,
right.
Yeah, I was great. There's buttocks for everyone here in this trailer. Excellent. Thank you. So this expansion is, and we saw this a little bit where you tried to work in the previous league mechanics into like story quest stuff, which I was super keen on. This expansion definitely feels much more deeply linked into the campaign and story, to the point where like Doriani's saying, go back in time and try and change these things that happened in the campaign. I was like, this feels like a major campaign story beat.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few things going on there. So, like initially, this league, unlike I think,
we didn't get Acts 5 and 6.
The storyline develops quite a lot more, kind of like through the campaign with different events that happen and sort of link in a lot. And part of the reason originally for that is that one of the things we sort of don't like necessarily about what leagues do is like you've got this situation where you like walk out of town in like, you know, literally the first area, and it's like some eldritch entity is immediately recruiting your services. You know what I mean? Like it's actually very like unfortunate.
Put this rusty thing in your body.
Exactly right. So we kind of wanted to try and make sure that there's a little bit more like it doesn't feel like the world is on your shoulders like right from the get go. Like there's actually like a little bit a growth of epicness throughout the league. So like if we'd have had it so it's like you're time traveling into the past, like the moment you walk out the gate, it's like okay, it's just not quite right. So we decided what we'll do is we'll make so that, you know, there is the temple. We've got a kind of like almost a baby version of the mechanic where you've got a lesser number of rooms, like it's kind of a bit simpler, like to start out with. And then once you pass the sort of key point in the storyline, then it like really opens up. You go into the past, you've got a little more story stuff going on. It did add quite a lot more work to kind of have to make 2 versions of a bunch of things and that kind of stuff. But I think it is worth it because it means that it feels like the league has a lot more going on.
Hey, Matt's Master.
And
there's still no end
it
game.
doesn't kind of break the
Better luck next
immediately
batch.
the feeling of the world, which has been a problem in the past.
I have very strong opinions on this one. It's like dark horror, gothic, secondary 3 dimensions deep of, you know, like I'm in the past and or in some sort of demon realm now. I don't know what's going on here.
And I mean, it's fine as you go, but this is actually one of the challenges I think we're going to have just designing leagues generally, is that they're going to require a bit more work to make them feel right. I mean, even just something as simple as like the Val sacrifice circles that you get throughout the world. Normally what we would have done is like make one thing and call it a day.
I think
Here,
this league mechanic is really, really
variations
like
of those,
meaty.
for like each act, we're like, in like for each area, we're thinking like, okay, which like we need more of these so that we
A
can
lot
use them so
went
they feel
into it, I
natural in the
think.
place where they are, like do a bit of material reskin, stuff like that. Like that's kind of the stuff that we now need to do to sort of make it feel like you're not breaking
like
the world stuff.
the POE 1 style, you know, betrayal basement. You know, you just okay, so there's just a basement everywhere, like in the mud flats. Like, okay, you know, that just doesn't fly anymore at all. So like we want to make sure that these things are way more believable.
Right.
Like you are actually convinced. You're like, you know, this makes sense. You know, I'm not just in a basement in the mud flat in a swamp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Val is a very distinct thing, and it's very like tied to Act 3 as well. So I was a bit worried about like the tone of Act 1 with the Val stuff, but then like it fits in reasonably well. Like you've definitely taken good care to make sure that it doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of making it feel like there's some ancient ruin that then later someone came along and like some Ezomites went in there and they built some stones around it because they're like, well, what is this thing? And like we just thought a little bit about like how would the culture here have reacted to the fact that there was this ancient ruin from long ago in this location and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And you mentioned to me that this is the bar for what you want to be doing. This is the quality level for what you want to be doing.
So I'd say that like it does sort of. I would say here, like the level of polish and the stuff that we're doing, like the amount of content that a league needs to actually be good. Like, you know, obviously when we did 020, the league was a little bit like, you know, it was just the Asmerian spirits, and like, I mean, it was a league, but it wasn't really. Didn't have like the depth of content and stuff that you needed. And then with 030, I think we did a lot better. Like it came a lot better, but I still don't think we quite got there in terms of
that was like
the
POE 1 level kind of.
And then this one here, I think like, you know, you get up to the level of quality that we really want to be delivering in POE 2, like, you know, post release and everything, and like the kind of the amount of content you need for a league. Like it needs to be quite sizable and good, and it did take a lot of effort, but I think it's worth it because you sort of shows you what we can do.
Hey guys, maybe the league mechanics gonna
kind of like locked in, committing to for expansion.
Gonna surprise us all, and it's gonna be really good.
It's and honestly, the scope did explode a little bit because when we, I think that one of the things. So when I initially designed the league, I was kind of like, okay, we're going to have like some limited number of rooms. We kind of spec'd it out, and like we, you know, and each one will have a few levels, and it kind of didn't seem like it was that large. But really, in the context of POE 2, it's like, well, if you're going to spend effort to upgrade a room, it needs to feel meaningfully different and have meaningfully better rewards and all that stuff, and it pretty soon expands into like a really huge list of like different combat encounter mechanics and different like crafting mechanics and different rewards and everything. Like there are so many new rewards and things in just in the temple. It's crazy. Like, you know, there's a lot there. Like certainly the number of expanded crafting options and all that sort of stuff. I mean, you know, we could take some inspiration from what POE 1 did with Incursion, you know, in terms of double crops and stuff, but we had to make it work in a POE 2 context. You know, there's just a lot there.
Yeah, I've followed your progress with designing this one
Yes,
from
well,
the very beginning.
Yeah, the funny thing is about that is that it actually came from a game that you recommended that I play.
I wasn't going to even say it.
So you recommended that I play this game called Loop Hero, and I really enjoyed it. Then, I mean, everyone's going to think that the game we're inspired by is Blueprints, but it actually wasn't. It was Loop Hero.
It was so good because I told you about that game, and then it was like a week later or something, you sent me a message like, "Hey, I've made this little program."
Yeah. So I prototyped up like a thing that for what would become the UI for Incursion. We actually ended up. It's funny because this is like the first league I've actually personally done code on in like quite a long time.
You really got into it.
Yeah. Because I mean, it was a real fun, just like evening thing to like go and just like work on this design. And one of the great things about doing that is that I got to make so many design changes just in the course of of writing it, like, which I don't think necessarily would have gone exactly the same way if I was getting other people to do it. So yeah, that was really fun. And just make a and then effectively the back of it is like the code that I wrote, but obviously the UI of it is like a whole thing that a bunch of other people worked on and made really look really awesome. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what is it like about this one that grabbed you so much? Because you got so involved and so personally, like working on it at home.
Yeah, I just really enjoy this kind of like little game within a game, like little metagame things. And just that dungeon design thing is just a really fun thing for me.
Tile placing, yeah,
it's really fun.
Love a good tile place.
And I just like coming up with all little ways that they can interact and that kind of thing, and try to make one each feel a bit different and that kind of stuff. It's just a good time.
Yeah, and it's got this like iterative design where you're building a temple, you run it like it's a really small one at first, and then it crumbles a bit, but you're still kind of building on what you're doing each time. Yeah. It's like a weird kind of like roguelike-y thing without being a roguelike itself.
Yeah,
exactly. So with that design then, I'm curious, like does it like fully reset at some point? Like for example, when you kill Atziri or
It never fully resets, but when you kill Atziri or defeat an architect, quite a lot of the temple gets destroyed. So there's this kind of destabilization thing. It goes back to not the start, but kind of I think it removes like 2/3 of the rooms. There's some number like that it gets rid of at that point, and then you kind of have to build up again. That's just that effectively means that like when you do those options, you're getting like new reward rooms and things to play. So it's giving you new goals, and then you have to work towards those goals again. And then ideally, those reward rooms can be rewarding enough that the benefit of going back to smaller is I'd say the negative of going back to smaller is completely outweighed by the benefits you're getting from the extra rooms that you're able to place.
So you can juice it a fair bit too.
You can, yeah.
There's a lot of like modifiers that are getting added on by each room, and you can place quite a lot of them.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Do you foresee people building out like a huge temple and then kind of not having it decay as much as possible?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's absolutely intended that you'll do that. I mean, once you've defeated Atziri enough times, you've got the uniques from there, and you've done like other things like that. Then you absolutely will like probably want like for ultra end game play when you really want like the most challenging stuff, and you're just like looking to get like as many double corrupts as you can and stuff like that. You're probably going to want to keep the temple large and specifically not do the stuff that would cause it to destabilize, because if you don't kill the architect and you don't kill Atziri, then it will it'll only pull you back. I can't remember the exact number of rooms, but there's some number of rooms that go away when it's quite full, and then you can just juice it really high and have really challenging in-game scaling tier of stuff. Because one of the things we were sort of concerned about is that there is some in-game content that just doesn't really scale as hard as it needs to scale in order to make it properly in-game viable.
Yeah,
we wanted to make sure that this was not the case here, that it actually does scale enough into the in-game.
Okay, so like designed to be pretty farmable and to be pretty late game relevant.
Of course, yeah.
It gets pretty hectic with all those mods.
Yeah.
With how many rooms are on there and like.
Yeah. But also just other things that you want to do, like so for example at the start of the game, you can only you can't like store up temple runs, as it were. As you get into the game, then now we start to have it so that you can store up more runs, so that you can like map for a while, then like do a bunch of incursions.
I think we have it that eventually you can do 60 maps and then temples, and then 60 maps, then temples.
If you want. So
if you want, or you can do 6, then a temple, then 6, then a temple.
So you can effectively store
anywhere
anywhere
runs, in between.
10 runs if you want.
I feel like with these things, like now I keep seeing like, you guys have thought of it.
Well, the thing is that we've got so much experience and stuff. I mean, yeah, like so for example, the whole like taking the currency away from the temple instead of having to craft inside the temple thing.
Yes.
Like that's just a hard learned lesson from POE 1 where you just need to.
You say we thought of it, and I have, because I'm just going to bring it up. But like, and a thing about, and this is something that I'm on the fence about a little bit. Personally, but yeah, the thing with the killing architect and Atziri, destroying a bunch of the temple, creating that clash of either farm temple or farm boss, can be quite a divisive thing for people.
Right.
You're looking at Betrayal Katarina, right? And the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we've now on POE 1, we separated those two things so they're not, because it always felt bad doing one or the other.
or I could feel bad doing one or the other, depending on how the balance went. And so you might get a similar thing here. Now, of course, the amount of the temple that can get destroyed is variable, and there's a bunch of stuff we can obviously tweak. But yeah, like getting that right and feeling right will be important. It's honestly hard to say if it is right now, but it's a thing. We say we've thought about it, but it can be very easy to see that and be like, hey, they're doing the same mistake they've made last time, which...
Yes, he's using a Dorilla pillow. How can you tell? Have you heard about Dorilla Ergo? It's the cutting-edge ergonomic pillow that people...
I'm a little bit confused about the 60 maps thing, because for the Val League, you need to find 5 of the arcane devices. At least that's what I wrote down. The Valve beacons, and once you have 5, you gain access to the Val Ruin, which is the temple. So how do you get to... How does 5 equate to 6? I'm missing something. I understand what he's saying. It's just... Yeah.
You're not wrong. Except, depending on, honestly, having the lever this time in place of how much gets destroyed instead of entire board reset kind of thing. We get to control that a lot better and iterate on that if we need to. So
yeah, that's true. You've already
we've thought about it, but it can. I could see, because I was just thinking about it, going, I reckon people are going to get mad at this. And I was just looking at it, going like, the idea that it's like, hold on, I can't farm the bosses. I either have to pick bosses or pick temple. It can be quite bad.
Well, Trial of the Ancestors, or the mystery contents in the new acts, and our third means of ascending. What's the progress like?
Well, we don't have anything to say at the moment, but it'll need to come obviously.
Damn, Chad!
But
I missed your message.
Didn't have time in this one certainly to work on that.
It keeps coming up. It is really just a matter of
sorry, Chad.
When, at what cost, etc. The classic. Just resource distribution kind of things where it's like, when are we going to do it, and what, instead of this, and we have all these different ideas, and so but right now, nothing.
All right. So on Endgame,
no
firstly, thanks for nerfing the Delirium Fog.
Yeah.
You saw the memes, I guess.
For sure.
You missed Chris.
All the foggy memes everywhere. That's good. Visibility improvement for the Endgame, but not only that, like, you guys didn't just tone down the...
Isaac, if you miss him that much, he's got a YouTube channel now, eh? Go check him out. He does some good videos. I know that's not what you meant, but...
Fog, you've done some pretty major things with the
tablet
Waystone system.
I mean, the very first question, and before we even toned down the fog, the first question was, okay, well, why do you feel like you have to run every map this way in the first place, right? Like, the fact that something feels mandatory is already a problem, regardless of the fact that the effect is also annoying, so that was the first thing to solve. And it really then started coming into, okay, well, like how, like, people are finding Waystone crafting more annoying, and we only made it more annoying in Abyss with the having to go somewhere else and get it, like, it just made it not not particularly great. So yeah, the first question is, well, how can we fix this problem, right? Like, and effectively we're kind of like, we can go 2 ways with this. We can either make it so that every league has something that feels mandatory that multiplies with the rewards, or we can say no leagues do, in which case it's more about like, which league do you want to run for different, for various different content that they can provide. So we decided to go with no leagues do, because I think that it's probably just like less busy work, less annoying. Like, if every league gave you something that you needed to like craft and do something with, it just would have been a pain. Which is why even in the live stream we're like, from this point on, just like Waystones, they will get regular, they'll have the regular crafting, just regular base currency, but we're never going to add to them again and like a thing that requires you to do more crafting than that. Another layer of that, because I think that having to do that every map is too frequent. Doing it on the tablets means that it's just way less frequent that you have to do.
Waystones are here to stay.
Which
helps
a lot. And then, of course, the question was, well, how can we make sure that we're not like doing a nerf to overall juicing potential here? So then we had to look into, how can we get back the, the power you had? So that's when we got into the extra mods on tablets and things like that, in order to sort that out.
Now, obviously, you were hoping to do more endgame for this expansion. So, what's kind of happened with the?
Well, I guess the sort of 2 things that we see as like the major problems in endgame. One of them is when you get there, it can feel like you don't really have a proper goal, like you don't have immediate.
You took the words out of my mouth, Chad. I literally said that like 10 minutes ago. I'm also shocked. I would have delayed the Druid and gotten the end game. That's where everyone plays the most. that is your heart of the game. That's your pulse of the game. That's where everybody likes to go and, you know, test their builds, make their currency, farm content. I totally 200% agree with you. That and gutting pack size. Yeah, we talked about that too. It's going to be interesting to see that they gutted the pack size, but they increased drops, experience, and the health by 40%. The health of the regular mobs by 40%. So we'll see if that makes up for it. The maps are too big. That's what I said. My fear with this new gutting of the mob density is that you kill a pack of mobs and then you're waiting 20 seconds for the next pack. If you know what I mean? I kind of like the constant action. Yes, it was overwhelming for some, but anyway, we'll see. We'll have to see how it feels like. Cut mob density by 40%, then cut map size by. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Actually. Anyway, let's hear what they have to say about the end game here.
Like, okay, here's a quest to do this and a quest to do that and that kind of stuff. So there's like a little bit of that missing. And
This
that
is
really
where
is
they
a
go
content
into
thing
why,
that just
I
requires
think.
us to expand upon what a league is. Now, something like something like Fate of the Vaal, it immediately has story stuff to do and so on. So when that goes to end game later, you'll have like storyline things sort of built in a way that can like make it so you've got that. But the other leagues don't have that as much, so we need to really make sure we're expanding on those. But the other thing as well is the Atlas tree just needs a lot more love and attention and like the way that it works and all that sort of stuff. So we just need to do a lot more there.
I opened that tree yesterday and I was like, oh, this sucks.
It's a little tragic. Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
oh
but the
my.
thing is that in order to make it good, you have to spend a lot of time and attention making new notables that are cool, that require like actually modify things in cool ways and like actually really meaningfully do something. And that's just a lot of time and work to do that. So,
Do you have an idea for what you want to do with the ascendancy tree side of things? Like, is it kind of angling more towards what you've done in Public League,
Well,
which has
the
been
league
pretty
trees.
successful?
well, I don't think we should be talking about that yet, just because that'll
Sure.
be it's more for later. But yeah, I mean, there's things we want to do.
Yeah,
There's
but
stuff we want to do.
suffice
Yeah,
to say,
we're
clearly not happy with it.
a bit of trying not to spoil anything here.
Yeah.
We obviously are spoiling the fact we are doing something. And I'll tell you, it's not even. It's not the same. It's not similar.
Yeah.
It's
That's good
It's in a
news.
whole different universe. So it's kind of like, which makes it a little bit hard because obviously we're in this state where we want feedback about the in game.
Yeah, it's
And so I
tricky.
do want to put, like, people should keep giving feedback because
Oh, you'll get
I don't
it.
want people to think, they're reworking it in game anyway, so I'm not going to say anything. Just in case. You never
Well, because
know.
there's
And we
also
also
different
can,
parts of
yeah.
the end game that kind of are like independent of the just things like how the Atlas tree works.
Yep.
So yeah.
But yes, that tree is effectively going to be completely reinvented. So
Marshall's buyers hustle for great gifts. So you don't have to.
So
good
the
stuff.
tree we know today.
that
It's
will be
not
the
what
full
we're gonna know
drastic change.
tomorrow.
And then the something that like POE 1 with the whole complete your atlas being a very clear, very obvious goal. You just complete all the maps and you get your atlas is complete. And then there's heaps more beyond that, of course. There's all the boss farming and all the different progressions and even that has like multiple quests throughout the main quest line with the different
Chad.
pinnacles and all that. We just
You know
don't
what I
have any
meant.
of that
Don't take
really.
me
It's just
literally.
immediately into this infinite unguided adventure. And there's a little bit of things with
Tomorrow
the corrupted
meaning 4 months.
zones
Yes,
and
correct.
bit of that and like
At least
the
4
burning
months.
monolith but it's still mostly unguided. You don't really feel like you have like I've completed the main thing, now I'm going to farm at the moment. It's pretty unsatisfying, I'd say. So really trying to drive that home. And then the other thing that honestly we spoke about upgrading the leagues and adding more bosses is like that whole like having King in the Mists and Olroth as the pinnacle bosses of the leagues just being like copy pastes from POE 1 was not our end goal. You know what I mean? Like they're a bit sad as pinnacles right now, and like honestly we need to up the epic a lot. So we've got a lot of that coming, and then just general upgrades to all the leagues. Like some of them are too, Ritual has the whole omens are too good, and others are just like, well, why would I do this? And there's a bit of that going on. So just a general balance and via adding more content and different axes and all kinds of stuff. So there's heaps coming.
But based on all that, to answer the original, is that's how you can see how it didn't make the cut, because it is a ton of work. It turned out to be way more than we had anticipated, and it was just like, oh, damn, we kind of talked about wanting to do an in-game upgrade, a big revamp in 040, and now we've got too much work, and we still believe it's the right thing to do, so we're going to commit. And normally we often get faced with the option: do we cut it down to make it fit, or do we commit to it all and do it? And I don't think in this case we could have cut anything without kind of just honestly making it look half-assed, to be honest. So we were like, no, we need to do it all, which means, unfortunately, yes, it's not going to make 040. But then we were like, well, we can't just now do nothing. So what can we do? Well, obviously, we're not just going to be like, because we're doing an 050, we'll just leave the fog alone.
Yeah.
Obviously bad, which was a bug, by the way.
Really?
Mets Master, I know what you're saying about, all of the mechanics are inspired by POE 1 mechanics, and some they're all rejigged and redone for POE 2. Come on, the Fate of the Val, of course, looks like Incursion, but they're not 1-to-1. They're not 100%. Like, I know what you're saying. It's inspired from that, but there's a lot of nuances that, again, it looks like through the content reveal that are way different than Incursion. Yes, I understand. There are rooms. We go into it, so it's similar to Incursion and POE 1, but there is a lot of design changes in the POE 2 version. That takes work, but I understand what you're saying. And they are not, again, this is my guess, we are not going to see anything new as far as league mechanics until we get out of early access. During early access, I think you're just going to see them bring over POE 1 mechanics. Respun and made different for POE 2, but the foundation comes from POE 1, if that makes any sense. I don't think you're going to start seeing anything new that's not POE 1-ish until we get into 1.0. So but this league, I think, is gonna, I'm starting to kind of grow on it a little bit the more I hear them talk, that maybe there's a lot more meat in it and more immersive, that some of the players are going to enjoy playing the league mechanics. So we'll see. I already read that.
All fogs, like the volumetric fogs in the game, have a cutout around the player.
Yeah.
That like cuts out and then tapers off. And all fogs in the games, there's multiple different fogs, had it except for Delirium Fog. It was the only fog that didn't have this. So that was, we can start there by re-adding it, and then we'll iterate until we feel like it's about right. But yeah, kind of sad when you look into these things and you're like, oh, damn.
CIBC is a founding partner of the Toronto Tempo and proud to champion every ambition.
It was just broken the whole time. But either way, a player doesn't know if it's broken or just intended. So obviously, fixing it is the important thing. But yeah, I know there's that guy on Reddit doing a post every day, and
they can finally rest.
Thank you for your service.
I understand. 85%.
Your watch is complete. Yes, we can actually see the ground. It was just hilarious in some maps, whereas they have holes in the ground, and there's so much fog you actually can't tell.
No, but I get what you're saying.
I can't move anywhere. It looked a lot better from the footage, so it's a big improvement for sure. So you mentioned that, but there was also another kind of key change that you wanted to make sure to get in this one, and that was the kind of like monster density getting swarmed issue.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one because so when we were doing 031, this was actually already a thing that we were tabling and talking about. We kind of thought that players probably wouldn't like it because the like monster density can be a very touchy thing, right? But the funny thing is that what we found was that even after we what we actually sort of heard more was like, oh, we actually liked what the improvements were early in game, and we actually would wish that the rest of the end game was more like that. And we're like, okay, well, if that's the case, then like the main thing we have to do is not like nerf rewards, make sure that experience gain doesn't get lowered or anything like that. But overall, we don't necessarily need as many monsters as what we were having in the top. And I think this is actually going to also just generally improve things, because it makes when monsters have more life like that, it makes more builds viable. And because like there's obviously a point where like once you can one hit everything, then there's no point in like you might as well just go for whatever the fastest thing that could do that is, right?
Yeah, the lightning speed.
Right. So effectively, by making it so that monster life's a little bit higher as you get up there, it sort of actually means that like higher damage builds become more useful.
The need for having to target so many enemies goes down.
Exactly,
and thus
right.
You aren't just now funneled into the highest AoE thing possible.
So it means that like things that are less AoE focused and more like, I mean, obviously you're still going to want AoE, you're still going to be wanting to be clearing like that sort of stuff, of course. But like effectively, just by tweaking it down a bit, you just don't have the like so much need for everything to target quite so many things. And so the sort of higher damage skills that are a bit less like not like more than a screen in size can actually be viable. And that should hopefully improve the situation there.
I want to make sure that even if people are like, but I prefer the swarminess, and it was fun for my build. And the thing is, like, that, speaking of, like, Atlas Tree, that's a thing where the Atlas Tree should be the thing thing that you can, it's like your build can do that. So, like, I want to make sure, like, for now, not doing it, but I wanted to do a thing, because we're doing this whole, like, monster effectiveness goes up more, right? I mean, it's a pretty hard thing to understand, because monsters just get stronger with higher levels, so like it kind of just happens. You don't really, it's not like a thing you need to worry about or anything of the sort. But I want to do a thing where you can spec into making, like on the Atlas Tree, I guess this is a little bit of a forward spoiler, but we're adding a little bit of it in a few places, but I want to make sure that you can invest into making monsters tougher without increasing the number of monsters, where like often it's just been pack size, and stuff like that. So but then I would love to do a thing later where like you can convert that effectiveness increases you can get into like pack size. So it's like, you know what? Nah, I want the swarmy, weaker monsters thing. And I don't want
so
one
you build
to,
your Atlas tree
at that point
way.
You can make sure the conversion results in the exact same amount of drops and XP and all of that stuff.
That way you can incentivize. Well, you don't incentivize one or the other, right? Like it's more about what your build is, what you'd prefer, rather than being like everyone has to have most pack sizes possible.
Whereas
you're
right
not
now,
changing the reward, you're just
multiplicative
customizing to your
scale.
build.
I mean, obviously not for rares and bosses, but it is, and for a lot of people, it's a multiplicative fun scaler, and I don't want to take that away. Like I want people to be able to do that, but that's what the Atlas Tree should be able to achieve. However,
that's super good, in my opinion, Chad.
You get this weird.
I like what Mark's saying here.
Thing where it's like the campaign has a entirely different vibe to the end of the end game now, where it's like you step into the end game, it's kind of a right, and then you get towards the end. I mean, for people who didn't play 031 onwards, it was just like, okay, I'm going through the campaign. It feels a bit more tactical. It feels a bit more, intention. My actions are more intentional. And then I get into endgame, I'm like, what the heck is going on? There's monsters everywhere. It's out of control. And so obviously 031 alleviated this a bit, but I don't want it to be that there's this feeling of there's two games there. I want it to be that you build that extra layer, that you change it through your Atlas Tree and through decisions you make for the end game, as opposed to it just being inherent. So if you want to, we're going to make sure that we try and keep it that if you want to make it more swarmy and that kind of stuff, you can, but it doesn't give you a drop advantage necessarily over the tougher monsters. There are reasons to do both. That's fine. There'll be heaps of mechanics and stuff, but like ideally, you can kind of play the game you want to play the game. And so in our tree and our builds, much like you can play the character how you want to play your character, we can do that with the end game as well. And that's the beauty of the Atlas Tree, and the keystones and stuff like that. So, but I can't. It's hard to get into more of that without getting into like kind of spoiler territory.
That's interesting to hear.
Those comments, I'm salivating. That sounds good. Sounds like they got a Oh my god, this is how we were talking about 0.4. Sounds like they got a lot of good ideas that they're working on for the end game. Oh my god, I gotta talk about it now for another 4 months. POE 1 endgame has been fine-tuned for many years and it's still better endgame. Well, POE 1's been cooking for more than many years. And even POE 1, there's many leagues that didn't hit. So they've stumbled in POE as well. I'm still playing Path of Exile 1 and this reveal won't bring me back to POE 2. Needs more time to cook is all I'm saying. Yeah, they need a lot of time to cook. But I get it. And map size is still a problem. Cough this one. Yeah, this league was weird. Yep. I agree with you, Chad. I was super hyped at the start and quickly got bored. Me too. Unfortunately, a lot of people are going to take the same kind of stance like Mets Master there on YouTube. Like, they were waiting for the end game to bring them back. And now that they don't see it, I saw a lot of those comments during the during the Q&A. Skip. I saw a lot of that. So we'll see. We'll see what the numbers bring and hold, and kind of who knows? Maybe, looks like they put a lot of work in the league mechanics. So we'll see how that kind of fleshes out, right? But yeah, unfortunately, I think a lot of people are gonna just say pass. I'll wait. I'll give them more time to cook. But again, introduce a new class or fix the end game. I don't know, man. Like, this is a priority. This is a friggin' priority to me. They said it was a priority before they even released the game in early access. They changed what they were going to launch and stopped working on the couple of acts to focus more. I talked about this an hour ago. Like, Endgame is, it's the heart of the game. I'm going to play. I'm off December 9th for a month. I got nothing but time. Oh my God, Chad, you must be like, God damn it.
Yeah, that you want to kind of make things a little bit less binary, where like in the past it often has been the case where
time will tell.
You just stack as much of all of the things you can stack, or it's just stack as much pack size or stack as much rarity as you can. But maybe having angles for both of those things, like I'm juicing pack size, or I'm juicing difficulty and rarity with.
We see you, Cranberry Catalyst, elevating your evening and raising the roof. And
I mean, that's exciting to me because I like the ability of being able to spec content that rewards your character that has low AoE, that is like really good at like dueling really tough rare monsters. And like, we did get to see a little bit at Imperial 1 where there was different strategies for juicing, where like you had like Titanic Scarabs or something that was making like really strong rogue exiles, and that took a specific
tons of different juicing strats.
Like that's kind of the direction you want to
in 3.26.
Pretty exciting to hear. And kind of
that's the league I juiced the most.
Was like, there's definitely been, like, it's been noticed that rare monsters seem to drop the vast majority of loot in endgame maps, or at least compared to normal and magic monsters. There's a bigger difference, I guess, than has been the case in the past. And where are you guys at with, like, noticing or feeling that, or what problems do you foresee with that? It gets talked about a lot.
I don't think it's necessarily wrong that it's like that. One of the things we really want to try to make sure of in PoE 2 when we're sort of doing a sort of from scratch pass on this is that the amount of rewardingness of something is equivalent to the amount of difficulty that it takes to kill it. And that's kind of where like we're trying to normalize that, because by doing that, it means that we can try to get like we don't want a situation where like some content just is randomly just way more rewarding than other content. And so we're trying to just make sure that we're keeping tabs on that really well. And what that's kind of ended up with regard to the magic versus rare is, like we've got the balance of that where it should in an ideal world be the case that like, killing a rare versus killing a white monster is, does in fact drop the correct amount of rewards relative to each other. Now the issue can come with the fact is, what if your build can one hit either of them in any case? Well, so that kind of like changes, I guess, the way that feels a little bit. So, but as I said, it should be the case that rares drop more than white monsters, and white monsters can drop anything still. It's just,
It does make a certain amount of sense, but I guess like with what you were talking about, Mark, it seems like something you'll have to think about, because like if you want both strategies to be viable, like the pack size juicing, then there needs to be a reward, a payoff to that ultimately.
100%.
So that's something you'll be looking at then.
But as far as I'm aware, it really is the case that if you looked at entirely just around the life of the entity, the drops should be pretty equivalent to the amount of life that they had to in order to kill them, as far as like relative to each other.
How you doing, bro?
If it's got 5 times as much life, it does 5 times as many more drops effectively. Like that's kind of what we're shooting for when we're trying to balance this stuff.
Yeah, I think with the balance of how things are and the options we have now, it probably makes sense. But yeah, it looks like something you'll be keeping close eye on moving forwards then.
For sure.
There's a bit of a parallel with one of the kind of issues I see in Path of Exile 1, where like everything is in reward icons, the little floating symbols. And that seems like something you're trying to avoid moving forward.
We haven't really been doing that for a little while now. There was certainly a period there in POE 1 design where it was like every single league was just like those reward icon type things, and it ended up really beiging the rewards a lot, because you just had this thing of like, every league drops, every other league's drops, and it kind of didn't really, like it wasn't really that great. So it's going to be a little while since we've done that stuff in POE 1 even, and in POE 2 we kind of steer away from it to make sure that like, everything feels like it's got distinct drops and a reason to do it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it appears in some regards. Like, for example, when you get the reward rooms in Fate of the Vow, you have a unique item room.
Sure.
But it's not just like a floating symbol above the monster.
Right.
Yeah.
Which also, immersively, I don't know what the heck that is, but what is it? It's just nothing. It's a clear and just obvious game mechanic.
I see some like floating, glowing cash money dollar bills above your head. Guy's loaded. As the amounts on gears are pretty similar, so like the 100% increased fire damage on a wand is consistent as tier 1 affix between both games, meaning that like more of the power has kind of been shifted away from the tree, the thing that you get by default, to...
Before we get into the balance, so basically the TLDR on the end game was they're not happy with the Atlas tree, and there's a lot that they want to do. It's not going to look anywhere near what it is. And there's just a lot that they want to do, and they very quickly found out that, they did contemplate, like how they've done in the past, where they can kind of just put in a little bit, like a fine tune in 04 and then do the rest of it in 05, but they don't want to do that anymore, right? They want to do it right. So that's kind of like the TLDR from how I gathered the response and how they were talking about it. I love the fact that Mark said the Atlas tree sucks, and they're gonna completely totally revamp it. It's gonna not look like anything it is today, so that's good. But obviously a lot of disappointment, again, seeing the chat during the live reveal, and again, I wasn't watching it 100% consistently. I had it in the background, but when I did peek over, a lot of people were not happy with the decision of kicking the end game down the field. So anyway,
gear. So this seems like a conscious decision to make gear more powerful. Is this something like you've thought about or made like specific strides towards?
Probably the main thing that we wanted to do in POE 2 was make it so that the tree is more, like we're trying to be more stringent about how the tree is multiplicative with what your gear does. That does make gear more important. I wouldn't say there's necessarily been a thing of like necessarily wanting to, the amount of power overall that you get from one and the other is more unbalanced, but it's just making sure that like when you are using the tree, that it's specializing your character more towards what the bonuses that your gear is giving you, to kind of make the two things together. Be sort of important to be thinking about both. So it's kind of our primary goal.
I was kind of slowly going to go take a washroom break.
Hey, real quick, how would you find the answer in all this data?
You get Sasvaya.
Sasvaya. Oh, here we go.
Have I given Soulframe a look? No, I have not. Soulframe?
Sasvaya.
It certainly wasn't like the passive tree being weaker. Like I guess we didn't really
it's
even
free
think
to
about
play
it in the point of comparison. We just kind of like went back then. We went really back to the basics and evaluating a lot of our base balance, and so it wasn't like let's nerf it compared to PoE 1. It was more just like what do we want gear to do? What do we want the passive tree to do? What do we want? And all of that at the end of the day is just relative to then how do we want the monsters to scale and which they're all different, right? The way that the monsters scale per level isn't the same. The way that the tree and thus the tree benefits are different. The gear is different, and everything. So again, not really. It was conscious decisions, but not conscious decisions to nerf from PoE 1 or anything of that sort. That being said, yes, I mean couple other things. I mean, we made, for example, the decision that we wanted the class starts on the tree to be weaker than the exterior. So generally the nodes are meant to go up a little bit in power as you get further away, so you don't just get the class hopping kind of thing that historically occurred in PoE 1 quite a bit.
The class starts were stronger than
you get the M on the top and stuff like that. And so that was a decision we made. But yeah, I mean, I guess we did kind of have we want gear to be more important, especially base gear. I think we maybe overcooked it a little bit right now, but just a little bit with more the ease of it, the ease of getting it. But that's a whole crafting discussion, I guess.
Talk about that
too. More of an in-game problem. But yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm personally pretty happy, honestly, with how it is.
Just that ratio of importance of gear compared to passive. I guess it's a question of how much power do you get for free, right? Ultimately that's what it comes down to is if my gear if I'm wearing all white gear, how powerful is my character from just the tree? And that's a little bit lower, I think, in PoE 2.
And the reason
that
for that
bothers some people, I guess.
The reason for that specifically is because the tree is more multiplicative than it was in PoE 1, where there was more just base stuff,
right?
There. I mean, you can look at it even in simple things like, just life on the tree, for example, right? That's sort of another example of part of the thinking there is the more base stuff is available on the tree, the more the same characters can be because they can just allocate the same stuff and get the same stuff without having to worry about the items. So yeah, that's kind of
obviously
just
that's not entirely base in PoE 1, but you have base life. As in life without gear.
Yeah. And where are you at on the life thing? Just since you brought it up, I guess it's still pretty happy with the decision to remove that from the tree.
I mean, look, we just wanted to. We just didn't. It's more of that decision's mostly about not wanting every character just another one of those cases of every character being the same.
Yeah.
It's we'd rather you specialized in the defense that relates to your character rather than just the same stat that every character.
Okay, guys, I'm going to take a quick bio break. I'll be right back.
That general feeling.
I mean, we've obviously still got imbalance here, and there's obviously still work to do. Never ending. So, the tree will just continue to evolve, and we added a lot of passives at some point that are a lot more powerful, and we intend to keep doing it. And now we've obviously just added all the druid ones, but not just that. We added more ignite support around the mercenary. For example, this time, as in 040, we're doing that, and then there's some changes to some prod speedy stuff because we were looking at shotguns and trying to see how can we have them scale. And it's it turns out if you get a bunch of piercing with prod speed and some other stuff, you can shoot them across the screen. And so well, how do you get that? Oh, there's not many, So we're doing a bunch of little increments like that, just based on what builds need. I know bleed needs a bit more love in the bottom right, and so to make it not just entirely all blood mage spear users and that kind of thing going on. So again, it's going to just honestly, we'll just do more and more and more and more and more on the tree. I suspect you'll get more. I'm not saying I'm going to increase the value of every node, but just by the nature of how many more things you can invest in and multiplicative elements, you're probably going to end up with a lot more power coming from the tree than what you do right now. But I actually prefer it doing it that way than just increasing all the numbers anyway. Because at the end of the day, if we then increase all the numbers and then it turns out the game is too easy, well, then you have to nerf something somewhere or just buff monsters, and then you kind of end up in the same place. So it's what did you actually achieve?
So with the approach to life then, which I feel makes sense, not wanting the trees to look the same and whatnot, how do you feel about why does ES kind of get a separate treatment when it ultimately, although it's a defense like evasion and armor, it functions much more like life? Because there's a lot of ES scaling and ES numbers are pretty high compared to life, and definitely
I mean, that's a current balance issue for sure, but like, you know, just because it happens to function more similar to life, they're all at the end of the day a form of effective HP, right? So, I mean, they just, as long as they're not entirely symmetric, which is what makes them interesting, which is why one works this way and the others work a different way. And but yeah, I mean, there's clearly a misbalance. I mean, you got issues with Ghost Dance obviously being a bit hectic, and I guess going to start listing off things I'm going to nerf, I suppose. But, you know, like, I don't know, there's changes to be done here. There's a few changes coming. But we're at the point where I still look at it and I'm like, I'm pretty sure ES is still going to be pretty crazy. That being said, it's like...
Struggling with upper neck pain? Watch this, and I'll show you one easy hack you can try today. If you're a side sleeper, when you sleep on your side, your head can sink too low or prop too high. For every degree your neck bends laterally, additional rotational force builds up in your cervical discs. It's like your spine is being bent by the weight of a bowling ball at a painful angle for 8 hours straight. Because of this, the soft discs in your neck get unevenly compressed night after night until one of them bulges out of place and presses on your nerves. What most people don't realize is that neck problems rarely stay in the neck. It can radiate down your arms or shoulders, as well as cause migraines and tension headaches. When 54% of Americans spend more than 8 hours a day hunched forward, we're creating a generation with spinal degeneration and chronic back.
You know, I don't want to make any last minute kind of knee-jerk reaction, nerf kind of things around this. So like, because we've changed and rebalanced so much, it's really hard to know, and even changes to how the monsters scale and whatnot. It's kind of hard to know exactly how things are going to play out. So it's this kind of thing where I'm like at the point again where I'm like, all right, let's get all these changes out, see how the metas evolve, see what's good, see what's bad, and then like reevaluate it again. So ES is worse, but I don't think it's... honestly, I don't think it's nerfed enough, to be honest, is kind of where I'm at with that. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
A little nudge in the right direction, perhaps. But I know in the past when we talked about this, we discussed around the idea of like letting energy shield values be high, but really focusing on the recovery side of things and making that like you just said, like making things not homogenous, making things different. Like life's really easy to recover, but energy shield's much harder to recover. Like you still kind of...
That is still the intention, yes. That is still the intention.
I like that.
It's just really easy for all of a sudden some cool design to come out, and then all of a sudden it's just a completely trampled recharge.
Yes.
And then it's just like, well, now why do I care, you know? And I mean, like, it's okay sometimes if it's like via an insanely, like, I mean, Essentia Sanguis is a perfect example of doing this, right? Like, it just straight up ES leech. And the thing is, like, I don't want to take that away. I just, you know, there's a level of, there's some balance to do and or commonality to do. Like, if that's a thing you strive for and can eventually achieve, and now your character's like freaking god tier, that's exactly what like high-end unique items should do. So in this case, you know, I know we're making that item rarer. Hopefully that doesn't affect the economy too much with some me giving that away. But on standard, sorry. But at the end of the day, I would rather do that than just gutting it. You know what I mean? In this case. But yes, those things are allowed to break the rule. But I very much want to push ES to be recharge based. And as I said, yeah, historically, it's again, you just come up with a bunch of uniques and want to do all this cool stuff. And all of a sudden, we've added in another way to completely not care about recharge, and you're getting ES back some other way. So, and that happened, and more and more and more of that came about, and all of a sudden now, you pretty much just got this insane life pool that's permanently full, and it's like, wow, why would you not do this? Obviously, you'd do this. So,
I imagine there's a lot of incomplete picture going on here as well, where you're still missing classes and archetypes and skills and parts of the passive tree and thing as well. It probably makes it hard to like commit too hard to certain areas of balance when it's such an incomplete picture.
Yes, and it's also just honestly a time issue. We're adding all this new stuff while having to also correct all the existing stuff, and then the new stuff is like, how fast can the new stuff break the existing stuff, and how fast can we then fix that? And it's you know, when I say break, I mean balance break.
You know, it's
Thanks,
to the point where
Maths
it's like
Master.
all these new
Maths
variables
Master.
are being added as we're trying to
I signed
fix
up.
all the
I'll
existing
check it out.
variables and balance them. And these new variables are like, you know, it can be hard, like real difficult. When you're at the point where you're not adding so much new stuff, you can just catch up, get to a point of stability, and for sure it's there. But like we have expanded. Like I've got 3 new people. I don't know if new. I've kind of taken a few people that were more balance oriented out of our QA. I mean, some of our QA people are kind of elite. You know, I don't know if I should say who they are, but some of them are off, you know, top hardcore ladders and stuff. And I'm like, well,
Cool.
look, they do know what's going on. I'm like trying to teach them the philosophies and how to do all this stuff. And so I've got 3 new people doing that. So hopefully, and historically, we've had quite a limited number of people actually doing balance. It's quite hard. It's actually one of the harder things to have a good feel for. And if you put the wrong person in that position, who knows where you'll end up. So it's really important to make sure that obviously these people understand the philosophies and are trained well, and you know you're being cautious with it. But yeah, I got 3 new people with that, so much larger team in the future. So I'm hoping we can tackle a lot more, and we're not just going to be up to like 1 or 2 of us. I mean, historically it's been pretty much me and Andrew, and that's it.
So you've got your elite squad. You're building your elite squad of balanced ninjas now. To
pretty much, yeah.
Elite squad of nerfers.
I mean, if we end up with like 5 of us, it's a very considering I also have to do the leagues and the end game and the monsters and the bosses and oversee all of that. It's pretty hard to also be able to find a lot of time to sit there with the spreadsheets and with the game and going, what does this build do? What can it do? So getting more people there is going to be a game changer for the future in terms of, you know, what we're able to actually balance, and we probably will be able to do a new class and keep the game up to date in a much better way and keep iterating on this, because we've got a lot more work to do. Like, I don't want people to ever think that we're just like going to stop with this stuff. I mean, POE 1 hasn't stopped after forever, and often you want to keep metas fresh, you want to update, you want to make new, there's always you make bad things good, good things bad. Well, you know, bring them in. Not, you know, whatever.
You want to make good things bad quite a little time.
Yeah, I was like, maybe not that. But the, you know, it's been a pretty tight resource the whole time, and
Oh my God, the ads.
If
are
you want to have
crazy.
a job in the next 5 years, these are the AI rules you need to know.
GGG would have never did what Tencent has since they took over.
having more of that is going to honestly be a game changer. So I am very keen to see how, whereas a caster weapon doesn't really have that. We were like, what do we want all the in-game base types to be? What do we want the damage in the campaign? And what we then started looking into was a lot of the other weapons going, well, what were they doing? And then I was looking at things going, well, this doesn't seem right here, and this doesn't seem right there. And you get these weird things which people probably don't honestly appreciate, maybe, where it's like you're upgrading your weapon, so you're going from like random examples. I don't know. I don't actually know if this is true. I'm just going to hypothetically. It's like you go from two-handed mace to 3 to two-handed mace 4. You know, you're going along the, I don't know what the actual names are. And then all of a sudden, like two-handed mace 5, it's got some implicit on it, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. But the damage is actually, the base DPS of that weapon is actually lower than the one before it. That was like 6 levels lower. And you're like,
cases of that.
I don't know if that damage is worth the trade-off of the implicit. And so
definitely it isn't worth it.
It isn't, yes. Yeah. The valuation of the implicit's damage penalty was mismatched in a lot of spots. And so you get these things where every third weapon in the campaign is just like a random DPS drop. And so we're changing all of that as much as we can, at least.
The thing is, you might not even necessarily recognize this as a player, because generally speaking, you just like, you see a weapon that dropped and you're like, okay, what's the DPS of this compared to another one? You're not necessarily thinking about the fact that there's a new upgraded weapon type, or that's like, or that should have been higher. So what it ends up being is there's just a hole of like 20 levels go by where it's like, I can't get a weapon upgrade, and it's frustrating. And that's what it actually feels like when you actually play it. But in reality, what it was is that the weapon type that was supposed to be an upgrade is actually a downgrade. That's something that Mark immediately saw, and he was like, okay,
we're doing a little bit more. I don't know if we're going to get through all the weapons, but we're trying. Whereas like you get to end game and it's like, okay, what's your fast weapon?
what's your crit weapon, what's your just standard good weapon, and then here's implicit A, implicit B, implicit C, you know, and then it's like, which one's your bonk weapon? Like, which one am I just going to bonk things with, the slow, heavy hitter, and trying to just do a lot more of that and make sure there's all the in-game choices for all of these weapons, bunch of different cool implicits, changing some of them around, just reevaluating the damage of them all, just the base deep. So generally speaking, pretty much all of them going up across the board in little ways. Like, they're not, you know, nothing make or break, but like, it's enough of a thing that as you're going through the campaign, you're not just like, where the heck are my upgrades? And also at the end game, just increasing a bit of the choices of different base weapons you could use for different builds and whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, it's easy to go a little bit underappreciated, but, you know, it matters, like in changing the staffs and all of that stuff. It does,
of course it matters,
you know, contribute to the overall picture of just things feeling good. And, you know, it's another one of these things where it's like, yeah, we just in the process of adding the druid weapons, we were like, well, let's go do the rest of this right as well while we're at it. So yeah, we've still got a bit more to do there, but I don't know if that will come
thanks,
in this,
Master.
you know, week
Thanks,
to come,
man.
and or as opposed to
I'll
afterwards.
definitely give it a
like
look.
That, but we're just going to try and do as much as we can. So even if not all the weapon types are in the patch notes, it isn't.
It just increases currency. Like it's through like 10 layers of like different ways things work that kind of result.
More max damage, notable. That's now 10. We've done, I think all of the skills that had multiplicative shock effect are now increased. So they stack additively with the tree. So, you know, it's honestly just like a whole bunch of different little things. Lightning rods are nerfed at endgame just while we're here. Don't worry, lots of things are buffed that aren't
Tons of things
that aren't lightning builds necessarily.
Nice.
But no, some are as well. But yeah, it's I don't want to just make it about a like let's gut lightning. I want to make it be like, well, let's make these other things feel cooler and more special. So it would be very easy to just go and gut lightning across the board. But that just seems like an overall net loss of fun. I'd much rather, you know, find ways to incentivize the others as opposed to just take away the thing that currently is you know, kind of enjoyable. So again, it's more important to not just nerf. Oh, now they're equal. So yeah, I won't say we're there yet, but the problem is obvious, so at least it's not.
And you don't really want things to be like the same power level ultimately. Like it seems like, you know, one of them should be more damage, one of them has like more utility, like cold with freeze and chill.
Well, for sure, like cold was
but ultimately people aren't going to accept if one element has more clear speed than another. So like while it may not be damage directly, it is in some indirect way it needs to translate to damage on some level.
They're a AAA studio with no staff.
You know, it needs to, or rather it needs to indirectly translate into clear speed in some manner, right? So, you know,
unless you're making the monsters.
They're a AA studio.
Well, that's what I mean.
Acting like a AAA studio.
Yeah, I mean, because we're doing that, it means that it ultimately means that, you know, the higher damage, smaller AOE, like not having to actually rely on arcing all the time to be able to get the
exceeding
massive AOE
and succeeding
kind of like make a difference. So even just that change
more than some AAAs,
like a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like fair amount of changes to like the passive tree scaling for lightning and stuff like that.
Yeah, well shock. I mean, shock is pretty hectic.
Yep.
Well, you're gonna get a lot of ad revenue from me, Ziggy D.
Kind of. You have this thing where it's like, okay, well, let's say even
some things were a bit illegal, and just the overall like how good it was. Like I don't know, like, oh no, I feel like this is illegal. So what of that was illegal or is illegal or is being
well, you said essences. So we talked about essence of sorcery.
It's not like we're gutting anything like that, right? There's just a few illegal things.
It's a few.
Are you pretty like you like overall like where it ended up?
I think it's way better than it was before.
Yeah, 100%.
Great.
Yeah.
It's what I found playing, and obviously and collating a little bit of data, but you know, it's the kind of thing where I don't have enough data to go and or enough feedback to go and make some sweeping change. Is that people find that getting you know, it's too easy now to get to the absolute upper echelons of gear. Is what I kind of honestly, and I assumed that there'd be a bit of a public civil war about me saying that, because I could see people going, no, that I love it that way, and a bunch of people going like, well, I'm completing my characters way too fast, right? I got nowhere to go. I got no, you know, I want to play for longer, and I have nothing to spend my time doing. Like it's done, my character's finished. And I could see people being very binary on that for sure. But then it's like, you know, how much of that just comes down to homogenizing, for example, and a few different axes like that.
I think a fair amount.
And but yeah, I know there's other problems, like for example, because of the high tier currency, there's a little bit of like you don't even need to pick up tier 5 rares anymore, because what you actually want is a base type to craft from. And so in some ways it's wrong in that regard, for sure. Like if people feel that way, that's probably not good. Yeah, and then there was some other things with the essences that went wrong. Like for example, the essence of haste, being able to craft melee tiers of attack speed onto bows. It's not alright, right? That's better than what a bow can even yield. So like now a dropped bow can never be the best thing in the game because there's an essence that can grant high value. That's not intentional. Like the essences should be good, but they shouldn't be giving illegal mods, as we keep saying. So yeah, it's a bit of that, but I would hate to. I want to see how it goes, but I definitely feel the thing that like definitely hit me the most that I want to get more feedback on is the people just going, it's not you. There's no point in picking up T5 rares eventually because it, you know. I would rather just craft from a white base and I can more guarantee that it's going to be good, and so what's the point? But yeah, there's a bit of that, and so, but again, it's very important with these kinds of things not to just like, yeah, that's obviously right, let's just change everything, and now item gearing is just ruined, because you could very easily undo with a lot of the good that 030's crafting added. So yeah, fine-tooth comb, being very careful with it,
yeah, okay,
for sure.
So it sounds like definitely getting rid of a few specific things. Like omen of homogenization was a pretty clear one. I think that was like seemed hyper illegal, as well as like some of the specific essences. Like the tiered currencies, you feel like you're pretty happy with overall?
I think overall I like them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And like the essence changes in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about abyss crafting now that that's going core? Is that like changing a lot? Because that I think played a pretty important role in giving you some interesting decision making in crafting.
It's not changing very much aside from the removal of waystone crafting from it.
Yeah,
sure, there'll be a few number of changes around.
Yeah, just little bits here and there. Yeah. Well, I mean, inherently we have to, because we buffed staff prefixes, we have to go and look at everywhere that adds equivalent mods and make sure those are increased as well.
That's a comment
so
right
like,
there.
Either way, there's some overflow effects that just kind of happen due to balance changes all over the place, but nothing like no significant change to that at this point for sure. But it's still there when you're playing through, even though it's core, when you're playing through the campaign, much like you get the world map icons, or it's like, oh, this thing's here. We've got a bunch of areas where there are abysses.
A few.
I think it's 6, and each give throughout the entire campaign. Each will give a craft.
The day as well, you could say that if this is a feature we need to have, then it doesn't necessarily matter. Like we just need to work with it and just deal with it. So you know,
I know in the past
how much people like to league based on that.
Yeah, I can tell you how much.
Welcome to Masters of
Okay, I'm gonna take
Cold Case File Games, where you become the.
As every single slot was just stacked. Like, wow, it's the Pathfinder, so let's do some cool passive tree stuff. So, pulling some inspiration from the POE 1 Scion, the Pathfinder can now also allocate passives from either the Witch or the Warrior start points, you know, for just like, you know, doing some crazy builds. And I think there's even a new notable on there where normally you have your highway nodes and it's like 5 decks and strength. There's also now 3 other options for the Pathfinder can take that node, and now there's 6 choices you can do on your travel nodes.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, I don't want as much attributes. I'll get instead damage. I think it's damage, defenses, and like cost efficiency or something. So you can kind of like better balance how much damage you want, defenses you want, or reduce. So it's like another kind of cool, interesting thing. So yeah, I mean, that's a class where it's gotten a bit more changes. Acolyte is numerical for now, but again, we want to do something grander with Chaos. It's on
There's quite a lot of just monk generally improvements as well, just balance wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, every class has kind of got
Been
changes everywhere.
in the thick of it.
I think the patch notes currently lacks. We have a thing where we're doing a bunch of changes to specific monsters for being spected.
Okay.
Like when we actually looked at it, we're like, look, if we just increase Spectre overall, it's going to increase the specific Spectres. Like we want to increase the amount of the pool of viable monsters for different cases.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Now it takes it from a skills balance team into the kind of monster balance team situation, and like such a different resource. So we're going to start doing that process where we try and do like, you know, 5 to 10 from here and here and here and here per patch, and kind of just start trying to get them to be more viable. specifically as specters. And honestly, you'll find most of the time it's just changing the cooldowns and changing the AI to be like not, because normally they're just like, I have to care about a player. And maybe some minions are there, but honestly, sometimes they just don't even care about the minions. They're just like, nah, there's a player, right? They assume there's a player, because generally speaking, there is. And so now, when they make a Spectre version, well, there's no player for them to target. There's, only monsters. And so they might be just making some silly decisions about how they're targeting and when they're using their skills and stuff like that. So, want to do a bunch of that, but those won't be in the patch notes because the intention's that we're still doing them. I don't want to release a half-baked set of patch notes for that. The other thing is, I think we're still doing. I've held back from the patch notes. I've held back a bunch of the minion occult, specifically a bunch of changes around command skills and stuff like that. Just because I want to just do a little bit more.
I want to hear what they have about 1.0 here. Sorry.
Do you have like a rough timeline for full release, or not ready to announce that yet?
Don't really have it to announce, but I mean, look, I certainly don't want it to be 2027. Like, I really want it to be next year. Like, I really do. So, it'll be, I really want it to be next year. We
certainly underestimated the amount of work we wanted to. It's certainly by having, to make all the leagues constantly and all of that. And I know some people might be like, just don't.
The fact that Jonathan said, I really, really don't want it to be 2027. Right there tells you they are on the cusp. It's going to be a race to get this game done by 2026. That right there. Like, he knows he's up against it. Again, my perception, I may be way off base. But that reaction of his, I hadn't seen that, by the way. I haven't seen this part of the Q&A. So that we were talking about this earlier. My prediction was August. I've been maintaining that since things evolved, and now after today, I think even August is going to be a dream. I actually thought there was maybe potential of April. So 06. I thought 06. 05 was going to be one more update, and then 06 was going to be 1.0. But I don't know, man. Even December of next year is going to, they're up against it. No doubt about it. They're up against it. I think it will be later than that, but you never know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
But
you need to do.
We want people to play the game still and enjoy it, and do what we want to do. But so you get this thing where we severely underestimated how much extra time it would add.
Your rule of cool of like, we want to do the 130 extra passives because it's cool. I mean that has an expense.
Yes, all of this does get in the way technically, but.
Look, at the end of the day, we're not going to release until everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah,
that's
true.
So
that's what needs to happen first. So
it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
With the performance improvements, which looked like really impressive, even more than the 25% you're saying. Like looking at the side-by-side footage, was like, it looks even better than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did 25. I said 25% as a commitment because like that's kind of like I want to make sure. Like, look, people are really sensitive to the stuff, so like I wanted to make sure that we're not over-promising.
Under-promise.
And so under-promise and over-deliver was the plan. But effectively, like I've been focusing a lot myself actually, and trying to make sure that it's getting better. Effectively, what we've done is, I mean, obviously there's just sort of traditional optimization that happens, but a lot of it is just effectively making sure we're multi-threading things better, taking advantage of more CPU cores. If you're GPU bound and you don't have dynamic resolution turned on, then it obviously won't affect you because you're GPU bound. If you've got dynamic resolution on, so the GPU is not so much of a concern, then CPU was definitely a problem for just about everyone. Like even really fast CPUs were having issues in in-game mapping. So the goal really was to make it so that, when you've got a lot of shit going on, that your CPU is not overloaded. We did that by multi-threading things much better than we were before. Traditional optimization, just lots of improvements there. Now... there's so many things that are working better than they were before. Like in many cases, honestly, you see double frame rate, like just straight up.
Awesome.
But as I said, like not consistently in all cases. So and consoles obviously saw a huge improvement. They consoles just have weaker CPUs than PCs do.
Okay, so it looks like they're talking about the
CPU
performance.
optimization, consoles are what's going to benefit from that. It's just a lot better.
You've been personally like really on this every time.
Yeah, I have. Just because
recently.
it's been such a big issue, and you know, like I wanted to actually get back in there and spend a bit of time on it. And yeah, as I said, like already it's so much better now. But yeah, we'll be even better than that.
Can't wait to see these improvements.
Fantastic.
It's nice.
It's great news. Patch notes are here.
All
So
right.
we will end there and let
no
people
one's interested
go
in
and
listening to us
read
anymore.
the
They've got,
patch notes.
they've got
All
the
right,
stuff.
everybody.
All right, guys, we made it through the 2-hour and 16-minute Q&A, 42-minute content reveal. I'm not gonna lie. Ever since I watched, so I've already watched this before I started streaming, and I have to say I've been going through in my mind how I'm gonna do my video for tomorrow, and you know, there's a couple of ways I'm contemplating, and yeah, so I'm gonna sleep on it. I'm very, very happy that I didn't do a quick video like an hour or so after this when I watched it through the first time, because it would have been a very different video and not a good video. So yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm not worried about Path of Exile 2. I know it's going to be the best ARPG. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I've always used that line consistently. But yeah, a lot of people are not happy with, you know, they said we gotta watch over-promising and under-delivering, and I think that kind of summarizes this patch. They over-promised and under-delivered. And it's all around the end game, even though they've done a ton. And that's the shame in this. That is the shame. They've done so much work on this patch. You know, the Druid class is like 4 classes in one. The League mechanic looks like it's got a lot of meat, but that gets all tossed out the window because this was called the end game patch, and everybody was waiting, and it didn't come, and that's what people remember. People don't remember the good, they remember the bad. Hey, Dana. This reveal is pretty insane. People aren't happy. Those are some crazy people. Hey, Atomic. The patch and League look awesome. There's nothing worse than waiting and not coming. Look, it's just human nature, people. Human nature. You can have, like, you go to a restaurant, okay? You go to a restaurant and you've been told they have the best steak, they have the best this, the best that, blah, 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 right? And you go there and the entree comes, it's a 10 out of 10. The main meal comes, 10 out of 10. The dessert, 10 out of 10. And right at the end, you know, the waitress comes over and everyone's having their coffee, tea, espresso, whatever, and she spills the coffee on someone and burns them, or spills something on a whatever. What are you going to remember? That group, what are they going to remember? Are they going to remember the amazing meal, or are they going to remember the fact that the waitress fucked up and ruined someone's jacket or burned them? They're going to remember that. Right? It's the same thing when you go on a flight. You have an amazing, smooth flight, on time, not bumpy. You get off the airplane and they lose your bag. Are you going to remember that it was a smooth flight? No, you're going to remember that stupid airline lost your bag. And it ruined your experience. So this is the same thing. People were expecting an end game patch. And it's unfortunate. People, it's a bad taste in their mouth, even though there's so much work in this patch. So, again, we'll see how it pans out. We'll see. If my dessert is free, I'll remember my free dessert. Yeah. Anyway, I was just trying to use a couple of examples where, you know, but again, I might be overthinking here. Again, not, it doesn't change my opinion of the, you know, the future of the game. This is going to be a banger. A lot of games are going to be trying to catch up to this game in the future. I do think that, you know, they are running out of runway and excuses of, oh, we wanted to put this in, but we can't because we ran out of time. Like, you know. So anyway, we'll see. Tencent needed to release before holidays for the supporter pack money. No, Mets Master, you have to understand, they're not going to delay leagues anymore. In the past, they would have pushed this release back in order to get the end game done. They're not doing that anymore. Every 2 months, we're going to get a new league. POE 1, POE 2. 2 months apart, 4-month leagues. They've taken the position they're not delaying leagues anymore. If they don't make the content, they're going to push the content back, not the release date. So, and they're staying true to that. Oh, Chad, please refrain from using foul language, Chad. As soon as they change release to on time and not with features, features are always going to be dropped. Yep. Chad is struggling with Streamlabs. Oh, Chad. Play nice. Anyway, I can say, I don't know what you wrote because they hit it. Let's see what you... No, you can't. You cannot say fuck. Or at least you can't type it out. No, you can't. Okay, fucking is allowed, yeah. Not fuck. Fucking, yes. Done. Anyway, so we'll see how things pan out. I took a very quick... Well, you know what? No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go into the cesspool. I was going to go on Reddit to see what's going on over there, but I'll save that for tomorrow's coffee. Yeah, you got timed out. You get a timeout, yeah. You do. Okay, everybody, I got a lot of stuff to do. And do me a favor. I'm probably going to launch a video tomorrow, hopefully, on this. And I just haven't decided yet how I'm going to navigate through this. Because, unfortunately, I'm a shitty poker player. And I speak my mind. And I have to say, to me, the end game is the weakest link of this game. And I was really looking forward to what they were cooking for the end game. And I understand they kicked it down the field and it's going to get addressed in the future. And I'm confident they're going to address it. I'm confident this game's going to be a banger. But I'd be a liar if I didn't say I was really disappointed. I'm being honest. I was disappointed. I was a little sad because I really was looking forward to sinking my teeth into a new end game for 04. And the fact that we're still going to have the same one, I know how 04 was. I got to the end game and I didn't last too long. I hit the boredom wall real quick. Is that Twitch chat cursing? Yeah, Dana. It's another animal on Twitch. The new league mechanic is part of the end game, and it looks really fun. Ergo, end game improved. come on, Dana. That's quite a stretch. You're stretching it right there. I will agree with you. Again, we'll see when we'll see, how it fleshes out. I think we are underestimating how much stuff is in the league mechanic. I think there is a lot, to your point, there is a lot to chew on. And I think for people that like that kind of side thing, dungeon, incursion-ish PoE 1 stuff that's been done for PoE 2, it does look like a lot of fun and potentially provide a lot of, fun for players. So we'll see how it fleshes out. Now, to tie that to the end game, I don't know. You got to stay optimistic. I am staying optimistic. That's why I preface everything by saying I still haven't changed my mind. Like, I'm not doom and gloom. Oh my God, this game is doomed. What's going on? Well, no. This is going to be the, I'm sorry I'm repeating myself over and over, but this will be the best ARPG. Hands down. It's just, they promoted this patch as an endgame patch, and they didn't do it. They explained why they didn't do it, but am I going to play Druid? If I do play Druid, it's looking like the Wyvern. I'm probably going to go Wyvern if I do play Druid. Not Dragon. Wyvern. Dragon's open. Oh, yeah. That animation of flying in the air and breathing fire. And you don't have to pick human or animal form. You can go back and forth. So, regardless of which animal form you pick, you can always go back to human form. So, yeah. But to me, it looks like the Wyvern is... I can't see myself playing bear. It just looks not for me. And the wolf, again, doesn't look like for me. So I am gravitating to the Wyvern. You can do 2 talismans and pick 2 animal forms. We don't know that yet. That'd be interesting, though. It's also going to be interesting to see if people put the talisman on another class and how that's going to pan out. So definitely it adds a lot of build possibilities, But, I'm just going to say this. New class, Druid. So introduce the Druid class or fix the end game. Clearly, the Druid took a lot of resources and they couldn't do the end game. I would have done the opposite. I would have kicked the Druid down the field and gotten the end game done first, because that's where the majority of the time is spent by the player base, in my humble opinion. Oh, really, eh? Interesting. Cool. Okay. Anyway. Actually, so far with PoE 2, I enjoy leveling builds and playing the campaign. Yeah, the campaign is good in Path of Exile too. Yeah. But there is, I don't know, leveling a character, I enjoy it. That's why I will always be team no reset. I mean, no one button get me to the end game, or I'm not team skip campaign. Never will be. I don't like that. I think there's a joy in going from nothing to something and building your character and going through the ups and downs of leveling a character and doing the campaign and seeing the potential and growing and improving. I like that. I would never want to, skip campaign. No. So I agree with you, but campaign is one thing, end game is another. End game, it's just, that's where you're like a superhero, hopefully, if you build it correctly. And believe me, I've had my fair share of not building it correctly. You guys have seen it, for those of you that are here on my live streams watching me play. I've had a lot of failures on that aspect. But nothing replaces the euphoria of, tier 16s or 16 and a halves or 17s, or doing the meta strat and you're fucking making divines left, right, and center, and you're clearing content, and that currency allows you to make your build even stronger or fund another build. There's like a euphoria in that. It's a chase, yes, the campaign is also euphoria, but it's a different, I don't know, at least for me anyway. Druid and graphics fixes, Sammy. I think my hopes for Orb of Alteration and Scouring is not coming, I guess. Nope. Anyway, guys, I got a lot to think about for my video tomorrow on how I'm going to do it. So I need some me time, some Zen moments, and some guidance on how I'm going to navigate this very sensitive topic. I managed to make a pretty decked out kinetic blast this POE 1 League, and it can solo the baby 5 waves. Building the character is really fun. Nice. Okay. Good night, everybody. Good night, good night, good night.